All right, all right. It looks like we are live. Welcome back to another Bree Hive Live. We're live in the Hive on another Thursday evening. The week went by super fast. Today, we are going to be jumping into a case that we covered quite a while ago. It's been quite a few months since we've talked about the Rust shooting case, and one of the trials is starting. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Alec Baldwin, an actor, I think he's like a producer too, basically shot off a gun, killing the cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, and was charged with manslaughter charges. And I think some recent charges were also brought against him, but I can't remember what those were. So we're not going to talk about it. But today we are going to be talking about the trial, starting with the actual armorer on set who was supposed to be in charge of making sure that the guns on the set were actually safe. And in this instance, seems like she didn't really do a good job, is what the state is going to argue, because the gun went off with a live round when it was not, when there were not supposed to be any live rounds on the set. So we are going to watch the opening statements. I think we will be able to get through the full opening statements today. I'm going to try to put it on 1.5 speed because it does sound like they're talking really slow. And this is a live reaction for me. I have not watched the opening statements. I've read a little bit on it, but I have not watched it. So this is going to be a live reaction to see what the prosecution's point of view is, and then what the state's point of view is. So make sure y'all are dropping in the chat if you're watching live, and also on the replay. Make sure you drop in the chat and let us know what you think so far. We got everything set up. Sound, we're not going to be playing with the sound when we get on the live stream. Let me know if you can hear everything loud and clear. But also, it's Thursday, so of course, let me know how your week is going. Let me know if you have some things to do over the weekend and what those things are. I think we're going to try to keep up with this case over the next couple of weeks while they are in trial. And let me know, like, can we get a poll about whether we think that this armorer is guilty? We'll get in a little bit more into the facts in just a moment. But like I said, if you don't remember what happened, Alec Baldwin shooting a movie, kind of playing with a gun to trying to catch some angles, ends up making the gun go off. And this young lady, let me go ahead and share it. This young lady is the armorer in the case. So she was in charge of making sure that the guns were working properly and that there was no live ammunition on the set, which either she messed up, or what she's arguing is that the supplier messed up, or what she's arguing is that the production and everyone messed up because they had her doing all of these other things instead of making sure that the guns were safe. So let me know what y'all think. I'm going to go ahead and check. I'm going to go ahead and check. Oh, I guess that was right. Check out the chat and see who's here watching live. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you drop it in the comment section. And let's talk to Bossy. We haven't seen you all stream. If y'all watching live and you haven't dropped anything in the chat, make sure you do so I can say hello to everyone. All right, we got Tanya D, a member and moderator of the channel, saying, good evening, Bree Hive. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in to let others know we are live. Thank you, Tanya D, for reminding us. Let's see where we are, actually. We got to set a like goal for the stream. I think we're going to make the like goal. We're going to reach for the stars this Thursday. We're going to make the like goal 50. We're not going to start at 30 because I know we can do 30 quickly, okay? I know we can do 30 quickly. We're already at 13 with 17 people watching live. So if you have not already, please do hit the like button so that we can hit our like goal for the stream. Thank you for reminding us, Tanya. I'll let y'all know I was running a little bit behind, trying to catch up on some of the information with Kimmy, because, your girl works a full-time job and then tries to do the side hustle and chat with y'all after work on these lawsuits. So I was not able to watch the trial live. I didn't even really know it was going to start all the way today until Kimmy told me, okay? And then we have Crystal Harris, another member of the channel, saying, yay, we are here. Welcome back into the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. Saying live in the Hive. Yes, we are. I'm trying to get like a cool little saying. I don't know. It's live in the Hive, the saying that we're going with. Maybe we can do that. Jazzy G says, hey, everyone. Welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. This week did go by fast. Well, a lot of you were saying that you didn't have a 3-day weekend, but if you didn't have a 3-day weekend and your week still went by fast, I'm happy for you. And yes, this week it went by fast, slow for me. It's just a lot of stuff have been happening to me this week. I actually was free and clear of any hearings this week. And then I got a client that was like, we need to go to court on Friday. And so I will be in court tomorrow morning. Just like, what is her name? I forgot her name that quick. What is the girl's name that is on trial? Gutierrez-Reed. What is her first name? Hannah. Okay. I was like, because their names are similar. Helena and then Hannah. So Hannah, I'm going to be in court just like her, but I'm not under fire. I'm the attorney trying to prosecute. Well, not really prosecute because it's civil, so it's not really a prosecution, but we are getting people in trouble or trying to get people in trouble tomorrow. So I am the moving party tomorrow. We will be in court and I will let y'all know how that goes. All right. Baby Meatballs, another member of the channel. Welcome back to the live stream. Still love that name, saying hi, Bree Hive, or hey, Bree Hive. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. We hope you are doing well too. Welcome back into the live stream. Tanya D saying, love the energy to Crystal Harris with the yay. Yes, of course. Kimmy Locker, welcome back into the live stream and also in the backstage and catching me up on all the information before coming live. Y'all know Kimmy. She's a moderator. She's a member of the channel. She's our paralegal for the channel and consultant for the channel. It was her idea to cover this case today. So hopefully we can make it pretty entertaining and informative for y'all. I really want to hear y'all's reaction to this case because, you know, we're all reacting live. I don't know if you guys have already watched it, but super excited to hear y'all reaction. Kimmy is excited about the case, and I love that for us. Like I said, I'm going to try to work on, or I didn't say it to y'all, I said it to Kimmy. I'm trying to work on some notes so that we can keep up on the case. All right, everyone saying hi to each other. Blue Monday says, hey, Bree, love hanging with you and getting your pro view. Thank you very much. We are happy to have you here tonight. This lovely Thursday. We're going right into the weekend. I'm kind of excited about that. Tanya saying hi to Kimmy. Jochi saying, hey, Bree Hive, so glad I caught a live. Hello, and welcome to Live in the Hive. Welcome into the live stream. Nice to have you tonight. So Katella saying, hi, chat mods and Bree. Hello, and welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you back tonight. We got Lady, let me mess it up. Lady Drakena saying, hi, Bree. Hello, and welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you back. Love to hear your opinion on what is going on. Okay, and chatters, love that. Kimmy saying hi to Tanya D. I always love seeing you. You know what's funny to me? You're like, you're looking great. Welcome into the chat. You're looking great as always. I'm like, but it's just a picture. How do you know? I might be here wrapped up in my blanket like a burrito. You can't really see me. Oh, well, you guys can see me, but you can't really see each other. So I always find it funny when you say good to see you. Good to see a little picture in the profile. Time Lorda says hi, Bree in chat. Hello and welcome back into the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. Katie White says hi, Bree. Hello, welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. I'm really excited to hear y'all's opinions. Like, that's what I'm the most excited about tonight. And really, I don't know these attorneys and the judge or anybody because I haven't watched anything regarding this case. The only thing that I've covered is like the initial indictments and initially what was happening. I have not been keeping up with it from a couple months ago until now. So this is going to be interesting. The young legend, welcome back into the live stream. Just Me MD says, buzzing in. Hey, Bree Hive, sending love from the East Coast. Another member of the channel, welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. No, you weren't the one that went on a date last time, was it? I can't remember who went on a date last stream. But anyways, welcome back to the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. Tanya D saying, been a long week as usual. Tonight, I am making puzzles. Interesting. One thing that I learned on this stream is that Tanya can make a new project every day. I don't care what she says. She makes a new project every day. I didn't even know you can make puzzles, but it sounds fun. It sounds like a great time. Baby Meatball says, this week is my daughter's winter break, so it's been super hectic in my household this President's Day. Winter break in February? Here in California, they call it like a furlough and they get a week off. But winter break, I don't think I've ever heard it called that. But I hope it stops being hectic for you. The week's almost over. Small says, yo, what up, Beehive? Hello, Smalls. Another member of the channel. Welcome back. And moderator of the channel. Welcome back into the live stream. Nice to see you tonight. We missed you on Tuesday. Y'all know, I know when a lot of my regulars are missing, okay? I know when you guys are missing. So we're happy to have you back. Tanya D says, welcome to everyone coming in. Yes, of course. Small says, hope everyone is well. We hope you're doing well too. Small says, just caught up on the Rush shooting thanks to Runkle. I saw Runkle live and I almost abandoned ship. I was going to go watch what Runkle had to say first. Because you know, Runkle knows guns. Runkle knows guns. I wanted to hear what he had to say. Forgot the name of his channel. He is Runkle of the Bailey. Yeah, he does a great job on, especially covering this case. He's already done a really good job on it. Sakatoa says, saw a big chunk of the trial. No spoilers. Okay, don't give us spoilers, but we still want to know what you think, okay? Yep, Runkle of the Bailey saying good. Lady Drake-na says, Runkle was on a pretty fun tangent earlier. Well, I'm gonna watch it, y'all, because I need like the background. I already watched Legal Bites. I need to watch Emily's background on it, and then y'all know I'm gonna check out Runkle. He has a lot of good commentary, so I'm gonna check out his channel too. Not to copy him, but just to learn that they're so smart. Like, I'm the baby lawyer on YouTube, so I like to watch the not so baby lawyers. Small says to baby meatball, I don't know if I already said it, but I love your username. Yeah, I love that name. It never gets old. Never gets old. Lady Drakenet says the judge is amazing. I'm excited to see what it's about. Small says just okay, y'all are chatting. Just me MD. Yes, it was. I'm happy that I remembered exactly who it was. I'm pretty sure it was you, but I don't know. Let me not be wrong. Crystal Harris says, how was the date? Let us know. Crystal Harris says, I saw the first day on the Legal Bites stream. Okay, good. She has really good coverage too. Lady Drakenet says, I watched on Recovery Addicts channel. His community is awesome. Don't know that person, but honestly, I think that channel has been popping up on my home screen lately, so maybe I need to watch it. Small says, not date night. Congrats or my condolences, whichever applies. Pretty sure Just Me MD is married, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure, but that's kind of funny. My condolences for going on a date. What is your experience, Small? Do you not like going on dates? Lady Drakenet says to maybe baby meatballs, yeah, we have a winter break in Georgia too. I consider like the December break winter break. We call it like a furlough, or maybe they call it like President's Week. It started when I was in school. We did not used to have a week off in February when I was in school, but now they do. It started towards the end of my schooling. All right, Jazzy G just became a member. Welcome to the membership on the Beehive. There we go. I need to get some more sounds. These ones are just the generic ones, but I'm super happy to have you in the membership. And I haven't said this in a long time, but for those of you who do not know, if you become a member, you get a cool little badge next to your name, and you also get cool little emojis that I designed myself. You know how uncreative I am, but the badges are, I created the badges too. The badges and the emojis are pretty cute for, my lack of artistic ability. Welcome into the membership. It is $5 a month, and it does support this channel. So I definitely appreciate you, Jazzy G, for becoming a member of the channel. Lady Drakenet says he's still going. I think he was live like right as I was signing into this. So he probably is still going. Sokatoa says, but you're smart too, Miss Bree. Thank you very much. I think so too, but I like learning from other smart people. I don't know why my camera is, I don't know why my camera is so orange today, but I guess it's an orange night for us. So hopefully that's not bothering anyone. Tell you, I had to check what camera because a couple of weeks ago I was on the wrong camera and I was like, what is going on here? This looks bad. Okay. Tiny said everything to good. Oh, Tanya, what's wrong with? No, you don't have to tell us what's wrong with your back, but I hope you do get better. Small says to me, yeah, my bad. Had a writing session last Tuesday. Well, I hope that was fun. Been working my A off. Y'all know we don't. I got my sister censor. Working my A off on Black and Seek. Including preparing for your stream. Literally just got out of that meeting, which is why I'm late. Well, that's okay. We are happy to have you here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get you a picture. I don't take pictures that often, and I don't want to send you like an old picture. So I might have a problem getting a picture over to you, but I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna work on it this weekend. Just Me MD says, hanging with hubby, gotta keep it up. Love the hive, but oh, you're leaving again today. You just had a date on Tuesday. Tell your hubby to relax. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I hope the date was wonderful. Y'all, I'm getting behind in the chat. Crystal Harris says, hey, Georgia in the house. Yes, of course. Baby Meatball says, yep, I'm also East Coast, so it's winter break here. Oh, I guess it is wintry over there, huh? It's always coldest here around this time of the year. That makes sense. Okay, that's my issue here. Lady Jakin says, recovery addict does a lot of court hopping, but he is just a true crime junkie and he's followed the same interesting cases. I love true crime, so I'm gonna have to check it out. And that's probably why he's popping up on my homepage, because I like true crime for sure. Small says, oh, well, if Just Me MD is married, then yay, congrats. No, Bree, I find dating really easy and fun, but many single people do not. I hear a lot of horror stories, so I'm just covering all my bases. We don't want to be offensive to anyone. Love that. I'm gonna take a quick sidetrack after I get through these comments. I got like 2 more. Oh, y'all are talking anyways. Kimmy says, woo, Georgia Bree Hive. Yes, we got to get our little merch going. We'll holler at Tanya when her back's not hurting anymore. No, but let's go ahead and let me sidetrack real quick. I decided to watch Love is Blind. I know I said I was not going to do it, but I did it. And I've watched all the episodes so far. And I made a TikTok on 2 of the couples. One of the couple, I made TikToks on 2 couples, but the most recent TikTok I just made was on one of the couples. So I'm sorry if I spoil it for anyone. There was an interracial couple, and I guess I'm not going to spoil anything because I'm only going to talk about one thing she did that I thought was strange. And it reminded me when Small said covering the basis about whether people like dating or not. It was an interracial couple, a white lady and a black man. And she kept saying, it was irking my nerves. She kept saying he identifies as black. And that really bothered me because I don't identify as black. I'm pretty sure Ken, that's the guy's name, doesn't identify as black. We're just black. It's okay to say black people. I think for a lot of people, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's okay to say black people, or that's a black woman and a black man and black children. I think that is okay to say. You don't have to water it down and say, I identify as a black person. Like maybe if I was, white, or maybe if I was interracial, I could say I identify as being black. Maybe. But as a black person, which that Ken guy, not to be racist or anything, or, stereotypical, Ken is a black man. That's just who he is. He doesn't appear to be interracial. He doesn't appear to be a white man identifying as black. I was confused. If anyone has comments on that, let me know, because that part just really pissed me off, and I made a TikTok with that ick. Okay, so Katoa says I'm watching season 6. I know I said I wasn't going to, and y'all know what? Since we did cover the Love is Blind contract with Renee Poach's lawsuit, one thing that I noticed that they keep bringing up in season 6 is, I chose this because they did a psych eval. And if you recall, in that case that we covered, she was like, I don't think they did a psych eval. They didn't do a psych eval on me, so I know they didn't do a psych eval on the person I was dating or a medical evaluation or anything like that. So I think they tried to emphasize that this season so that people believed, like, no, they actually do psych evals. Renee was lying. I thought that was interesting too. But we're gonna get into Rust in a minute. Y'all know I'm a little distracted, but we'll get there. Kimmy Locker says, OMG, I did the same over the weekend. Great minds watch brainless TV alike. Yes. I don't want to change like the whole premise of my channel, but I do want to talk about more reality TV because I do watch that and it distracts me from looking up the legal stuff that I need to do. So maybe I do need to talk about that more. Just Me MD says, not tonight, hanging with the Hive tonight, was talking about last live. Okay, that makes sense. Jazzy G says, I seen some good tea come out today about one of the couples. Oh no, don't spoil it. Small says, well, I can relate to that, Bree. I do not take pics better. If you don't send one, I gotta choose from what I can find online. I don't mind to do that. Maybe I'll just take one with my little afro puff today since we're talking about hair. But then I'm gonna be nervous about taking a picture. Small says, identify as Black sounds like the person is cosplaying. LOL. That's what I'm saying. Like, who do you mean he identifies as Black? To be fair, she also said I identify as white. I'll give her that. I get she's trying to be politically correct, but it doesn't, I don't think it applies. So let me know. Like, what? That's some Rachel. That's what someone said. That's what someone said on TikTok too. Like, no, she identifies as Black for sure. But Black people do not identify as being Black. So Katoa says, OMG, I caught that. I gave her the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe it was nerves. I gave her grace the first time she said it. But then she said it a second time and I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Tiny D says, let me know. I can make something. My back always hurts. Oh, dang. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So Katoa says, Bree, you were on my mind when they brought that up. Really? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Small says, if you're deaf, right, Bree? It's given I've never had Black friends and I'm scared to say the wrong thing. But she said she dated Black men before. But I'm like, they had to be like interracial Black men or something, because no way is your Black friend, your fully Black friend, being okay, or your boyfriend being okay with you saying that he identifies as Black. Imagine her taking Ken to dinner, but before she goes, she tells her mom, yeah, I'm bringing my fiance. He identifies as Black. And imagine their shock when an actual Black man walks through the door. It's like, why didn't you just say he was Black? I didn't see that kid. I don't know where she got that from. I don't know where she got that from. Tiny says, very weird. It's weird. Kimmy Locker says to Lady Drakeness, I don't want to be that person who jumps to talking about weather, but I hope your part of Georgia was as pretty as mine was today. Such a pleasant surprise and change of pace. Well, I'm glad you guys have a good weather. I think we did too. Small says, Bree, I'd be here for your take perspective on reality TV. I watch creators who do reality TV recaps, so I don't have to watch the show. That makes sense because it does take up a lot of time. I don't know. Y'all know, I'll talk to y'all offline about it. Sakatoa says, oh, I missed the second time she said it. Yeah, she said it a second time. I was like, nope, you're done. You are done. Kimmy Locker says, I wonder how many more times she said it that ended up on the cutting room floor. Probably a lot. Probably a lot. I would not be surprised. Lady Drakeness says, I was freezing this morning. Y'all talk about weather, so I'm going to skip that. Crystal Harris says, it was indeed pretty today for the Georgia peeps going in. Small says, okay, well, we all know that Black friend, I can just imagine her exes. Right. Not a pro-Black like Ken claimed to be. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the chat. Kimmy gave me some time steps in the back. Let's actually get into what I said we're going to cover today, and that's the Rush shooting. We're going to start off with the charges, go into opening statements, and then we're going to go, we're probably not going to get to the first couple of witnesses, but we'll recap on that next week. I'll watch it over the weekend. I got to put more effort into my channel because we have to grow. We have to grow this year. I say that every year. But as a working woman, y'all know how that goes. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into the hearing. This is our girl, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, and she is on trial for manslaughter, 2 different degrees of manslaughter. One is, what is it? It was like negligent. I can't remember what the charges are, y'all. I'm gonna have to look it up and come back to you. Oh, you know what? They're gonna tell us. The judge is gonna tell us right now. So let me just go ahead and be quiet and let it play. I'm gonna test my mic as the video is playing. So let me know if y'all can hear me or not. And then let's go. I'm about to be like mixing on the board, making sure the the volume goes down when I talk. So here we go. This is Hannah. She's on trial for manslaughter and also tampering with evidence. So let's jump right into it. Hey, y'all, let me know if y'all can hear it. I can hear them moving around.
State of New Mexico versus Hannah Gutierrez, D101CR, 2023-40. Party state their name.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jason Lewis, and Karen Morrison on behalf of New Mexico. Good morning, Your Honor. Jason Lewis, Carmelos, Todd William, here for Hannah Gutierrez-Reed.
And I do have it sped up, so let me know if y'all need me to slow down.
As they say, accidents happen. So thank you. All right, so I'm going to give you an explanation of trial procedure. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. And I already swore you in yesterday, okay? So we're just going to tell you met my bailiff. There he is. Okay, yeah, we need him. Wait.
Okay, girl, get to where you gotta go.
Hello. I will read this to you to remind you of what the charges are.
Okay, here we go. Charges.
Count 1, involuntary manslaughter, in that on or about October 21, 2021, in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, located at 545 Bonanza Creek Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87508. The above named defendant did cause the death of Hannah Hutchins, committed in the commission of an unlawful act, to wit, negligent use of a deadly weapon. In the alternative, count 1, involuntary manslaughter, in that on or about October 21, 2021, in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, located at 545 Bonanza Creek Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87508. The above named defendant did cause the death of Hannah Hutchins, committed in the commission of a lawful act which might produce death in an unlawful manner or without due caution or circumspection. Count 2, tampering with evidence, in that on or about October 21, 2021, in Santa Fe County, New Mexico, the above named defendant did transfer narcotics to another person with the intent to prevent the apprehension, prosecution, or conviction of herself. And thank you. All right. So remember that Ms. Hannah Gutierrez is presumed innocent. The burden is on the state to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. I have some instructions to give you. These are instructions that you'll follow throughout the trial. First of all, one of the most important is all of you must pay close attention to the evidence. After you've read all of the evidence, I will read the final instructions of law to you. You will also receive a written copy of all instructions. You must follow the final instructions in deciding the case. Again, the trial is expected to last possibly through May 8th. And we're here every day except the weekends, 8:30 to 5, okay? We'll take a morning break. We'll take a lunch break. We'll take an afternoon break. Let's see. Please report to be seated, and after all of you are seated, we will be seated. It is so important to hear. Do not miss one word. Raise your hand. Don't wait. Don't be shy, okay? This is a public proceeding, so people may go in and out. You may find yourself looking at who is going in and out.
I'm a fast forward because she's talking,
however,
given the jury's instruction. We don't need all of that.
In the case, please tell George and he'll let me know. Them at the end of the day, and in the morning he'll return them. Please, criminal trial. A criminal trial generally begins with the lawyers telling you what they expect the evidence to show. This is called opening statements. These statements made by the lawyers during the course of trial can be of considerable assistance to you in understanding the evidence as it is presented at the time and determine the facts in this case, which you must do. By itself, a question is not evidence. You must not consider it in light of all of the juror will have an discuss it with the other jurors. You must not visit the scene when you've received all the evidence. You must not discuss this case or the evidence with anyone, even with each other. So as I said yesterday, I'm with yourself and not talk about it with the jurors.
Let me go ahead and get to the timestamp thing because I gotta skip a little bit further than that. So give me 1 second. Let's see when they actually start the opening statements. Kimmy gave me a timestamp thing. But is the volume good for everyone so far? Okay, we did the charges. The involuntary manslaughter is basically, Kimmy corrected me, 2 theories. I think one was an unlawful act in a reckless regard that results in the death of someone. And then there's a lawful act in a reckless regard that results in the death of someone. So either she did something wrong by bringing the live rounds onto the set, or she didn't check whether there were live rounds on the set and basically provided the gun to the people. So let me go ahead. It looks like it's at 59 minutes is when the opening statements start. Okay, so we should be good to go now. Thank you, Kimmy, for the timestamps. All right, here we go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Honor, counselors. My name is Jason Lewis, and I know that we were introduced briefly yesterday during the jury selection process. I wanted to introduce myself again. My co-counsel is Carrie Morrissey, who most of you spoke to, at least in some
he seems happy.
Yesterday. Also at counsel table is Shad Bowe. He is our IT specialist, and Corporal Alexander Hancock. She is what's called our case agent, and she is a witness who you will be hearing from later, maybe later today, if not certainly by tomorrow. As the judge mentioned earlier, it is Ms. Morrissey's and mine responsibility to prove to your all satisfaction that Ms. Gutierrez committed the 2 crimes with which she's been charged beyond a reasonable doubt. The 2 crimes she's been charged with are involuntary manslaughter and tampering with evidence. This morning, I hope to give you a roadmap of what we intend to introduce throughout the trial. And although the statements that I'm making this morning aren't evidence and you can't consider what I'm saying for purposes of your deliberations, I hope to give you a preview of what the evidence is about, what witnesses you're going to be hearing from, and again, kind of highlight some of the key pieces of evidence that we think we're going to be showing you throughout the trial. But most importantly, what we want to do is give you the information that you need to answer two key questions. The first being, what are the events that happened on the set of Rust that led to the death of Helena Hutchins? And the second question is, how did live ammunition end up on the set of the movie? As to both questions, we believe that it was the negligent acts and failures of the defendant, Ms. Gutierrez, that resulted in both the acts that contributed to Ms. Hutchins' death and to the live rounds being brought onto the set. A bit later on, I'm going to explain to you exactly how we believe that happened. Give me just a minute.
I'm going to say about fast forward to him a little bit more because he's a little slow at talking. So let's see what 2 sounds like. Let me know if this is too fast because he is taking forever. Okay, so what is I going to get into? So for her particular case, they have to. Okay,
this is the case that we're here to deal with this morning. Ms. Hutchins was born in Ukraine on April 9th, 1979. She was married. Her husband's name is Matthew, and she has 1 son who was 9 years old at the time of her death. As a child, Ms. Hutchins lived on a Russian military base located in the Arctic. She took an early and keen interest in film and journalism. She studied both economics and journalism at the Kiev National University, where she received a degree in international journalism. Ms. Hutchins met her husband, Matthew, when she was working in the United States in Los Angeles, California. They hit it off so well that they eventually got married. And when Ms. Hutchins moved and immigrated into the United States, she continued her education and she eventually earned a master's degree in 2015 from the American Film Institute Conservatory. While in Los Angeles, Ms. Hutchins transitioned into the film and television industry, working as a cinematographer. This was a job that she loved and she had a great passion for. For those of you, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. My microphone has been off this whole time and I didn't know. For those of you who may not know, a cinematographer is a person who works behind the scenes of the film, and the cinematographer is responsible for creating the overall vision of the film. In very basic terms, the cinematographer decides how the movie will be lit and colored and how the final footage will appear on the screen when you watch the movie. And in fact, Ms. Hutchins was working as a cinematographer for the movie Rust, which when she was tragically shot and killed on October 21st, 2021. By all accounts, from the folks who knew her and worked with her, and many of those you will be hearing from, she was a gifted and talented artist, but above all, she was a loving wife and mother. And like Ms. Hutchins, the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, was also a behind-the-scenes member of the Rust crew. Ms. Gutierrez was hired to perform a dual role on the movie. She was hired to be both an armorer and a props assistant. As a props assistant, it was Ms. Gutierrez's primary duty to essentially go out and source and bring back to the film set.
And that's one thing that she's contesting. They had her doing too much instead of just the armor.
Kitchen scene, then Ms. Gutierrez would have gone out, purchased plates, cups, glasses, forks, all that.
So they're trying to establish that as her job too, and she's saying it wasn't her job.
Ms. Gutierrez's other role was as the movie's armorer, and it's that role that really has brought us here today. The armorer has a few key responsibilities. The first responsibility is to source and bring to the set all of the firearms that are going to be used as part of the movie. So for a modern movie, that may have required her to purchase or obtain machine guns, semi-automatic handguns, long rifles, and that sort of thing. But for a Western like Rust, the armorer would have to source weapons that were in use at the time so that the movie looks more authentic. And so that would include finding old-looking revolvers and shotguns and things of that nature. I've just put up a photo. This is the firearm that Mr. Baldwin was using in this movie. This is also the firearm that was used in the incident that resulted in the death of Ms. Hutchins. One of the things that I think is important for you all to understand is that throughout this trial, we all may refer to these type of firearms as prop guns, but make no mistake, they are legitimate firearms. If you put a live bullet inside of these guns, they will fire. So we sometimes refer to them as prop weapons, but they are absolutely capable of causing a projectile to fly out of the barrel. The other thing that it's important for you all to know is that although this particular weapon looks old, it is actually a brand new gun. This gun was purchased directly from the manufacturer for the purpose of being used in this movie. And although it looks old, it's not a gun that has had hundreds or thousands of rounds put through it. It was a brand new and perfectly functioning gun when it arrived on the set. The second thing that the armorer is responsible for is sourcing and purchasing blank and dummy ammunition. You're going to be hearing a lot throughout this trial about the differences between live ammunition, blank ammunition, dummy ammunition. So I'm just going to kind of give you a 10,000-foot overview of what this stuff is. The image that's on your screen right now is what's called a blank round. A blank round is actually pretty easy to distinguish because it has that crimped end where normally a bullet would be. The reason that blanks are used in the movie is because when it's in the gun and an actor pulls a trigger, there is enough gunpowder inside of that blank to cause a pop and have a cloud of smoke come out from the gun, but it doesn't have a projectile that shoots through the barrel of the gun. So these are a type of round that is used frequently on the movie sets, especially whenever they want to make it look like the actor is actually firing a weapon.
I feel like he's telling a story rather than the
are what's called dummy rounds.
Evidence that they're going to show.
These are a different story. Dummies look exactly like real bullets. As you can tell from kind of that main image there, although this evidence dummy round has some writing on it, you wouldn't be able to distinguish that from a live bullet if you were just looking at it with your eyes. And because these dummy rounds are designed to look exactly like live ammunition, every round has to be thoroughly checked before it is put inside of one of these firearms. Aside from sourcing firearms, blanks, and dummies for the movie, the next major function that Hannah was required to do on the movie set is that she was required to check every single one of these rounds to make sure that it's the appropriate blank or dummy and not live ammunition before it gets inserted into the gun. And there are two primary ways that an armorer or anybody who's familiar with this can check to make sure that a round is a dummy round. The first thing they can do is shake it. And if you'll see in that on the lower right-hand side, I've got a photograph for you there of a plastic container that's got 3 BBs in it. Those BBs are inside of that dummy round so that whenever you shake it, you can audibly hear that it's making a noise. And that way you know it's a dummy round. Sometimes they have a little spring in there rather than these bullets, but they always have some sort of noisemaker in there. The other way to distinguish a dummy
fact
from
that
a
he
real live
referred to that
is
as
in that
bullets,
top right
probably not the
photograph, and you'll see
best.
that cartridge has a hole drilled into the side of the casing. That's the second way that you can distinguish a dummy round from a live round. And then we have, not to overcomplicate things, but I think it's important that you know this, we also have some dummy rounds that are missing what's called the primer. Normally on a live cartridge, there's an explosive element that is inside of that center portion that whenever the hammer of the gun hits that primer, causes a small spark that then ignites the rest of the gunpowder in the bullet and causes the projectile to be expelled. So dummy rounds, as you can see, they do look an awful lot like live ammunition, but there are ways, if you are careful, that you can distinguish a dummy round from a live round. The next major function of the armorer is to check the firearm before it is brought onto the set. And there's a very specific process that is used for this. When it's time for a firearm to be used, the armorer is required to present the firearm to the first assistant director to double check that only dummy rounds are inside the gun. And the armorer is also supposed to offer the actor who is receiving the gun the opportunity to also have the gun inspected in front of them. Unfortunately, in this case, Ms. Gutierrez did not always adhere to these safety procedures, and you're going to hear from several witnesses who will testify that she often rushed through this critical step and sometimes she skipped this check altogether.
That would be very important, but are they going to testify that she did it on that particular round?
2021. The cast and crew of the Rust film were out at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, which is a ranch located just outside the city limits of Santa Fe. It's several thousand acres large, and it has an Old West style town that's built there, and often movies are filmed there. And I've got an example photo here just to kind of give you an idea of what the set looks like. It's nothing particularly fancy. It's just an Old West looking town. Part of the set, and this is located a little bit a ways from the town itself, is this church. And it was at this church that the incident resulting in Miss Hutchins' death occurred. The evidence is going to show that on October 21st, it was a fairly chaotic day on the set of the movie. The evening before, a group of camera operators who had some concerns about various safety issues on set sent an email to the production team indicating that they were going to be quitting. And so the next day, in response to this notice, the producers decided to push ahead with filming anyway, and they decided to use less camera equipment than what was normally used, and they tried to just improvise and make do with what they had. Filming on the morning of the 21st was largely uneventful. The cast and crew filmed several scenes without any particular incidents occurring. Leading up to the lunch hour, a small group of cast and crew were inside the church working on getting some close-up shots of Alec Baldwin sitting on a church pew and manipulating his revolver. That scene was completed just before lunch, and so they called for a lunch break. And let me back up just a little bit. Before the lunch break was called, I want you all to see what was going on. This is so that gives you an idea of what was going on that morning. Alec Baldwin was sitting on a church pew, and he was practicing this draw.
They made him look a lot older in the movie.
Kind of close up on top of him. So they completed that scene, and they called for the lunch hour to occur. So during the lunch hour, Ms. Gutierrez took the gun from Mr. Baldwin, and she took it back to the safe, the gun safe that was loaded on a prop cart. Once lunch was over, the production decided that they wanted to continue working inside of the church. But at this point, they weren't actually filming anything like they were in this video that I just showed you. And instead, they were doing what's called a blocking. And that is, in film terms, what you do before you even get to a rehearsal.
So was the shooting like actually recorded?
Rehearsal where the lighting director,
They're recording that part. Why
all of
not?
the folks are trying to get things situated so that they can then move into a rehearsal. Whenever a blocking is going on, because they aren't filming, there's really no need for the actor to have a live firearm in their hands, or even for the live firearm to be on set. You're going to hear from several witnesses, or from one witness in particular, who's going to testify that for purposes of blocking, Mr. Baldwin could have been using a stick, a rubber gun, anything that would essentially allow him to mimic a gun. It didn't have to be a live firearm. On that day, though, the defendant was asked to provide Mr. Baldwin with a live firearm for the blocking, and she did, and that was within her discretion to do so. You're going to hear that on the day of the shooting, Ms. Gutierrez loaded the gun.
Not her rolling her
with 5
eyes. She
rounds.
tried to save it, but
The revolver
I saw
is a
that.
6-shooter, so it can hold 6 rounds, but in that morning, she only was able to load 5 of them. After the lunch break was over, Ms. Gutierrez retrieved the gun from the safe, and she cleaned that 6th hole and was able to put a 6th round into the 6th slot. Ms. Gutierrez then took the firearm to the church and handed the gun over to the first assistant director, whose name is Dave Halls. Ms. Gutierrez and Mr. Halls then did a sloppy and incomplete safety check of the gun, where the dummy rounds were not removed from the gun and rattled or checked to see if they had a hole drilled in it. Instead, she just kind of cracked open the gun and partially spun the cylinder to show Mr. Halls a few of the rounds, but they were not removed from the gun and they weren't all checked. After the incident happened, and when Ms. Gutierrez
He
was
seems like he's
interviewed
trying to
by
remember
the
the
investigating
story,
officer,
and he has it written
she
in
stated
front
that
of
when she
him.
moved the gun from the safe to begin the filming for the afternoon session, she didn't recheck the ammunition. So when she pulled the gun out and put the 6th bullet in, she didn't independently check the rounds at that time either. Our witnesses are going to testify that when the defendant pulled the gun out of the safe after lunch, What she should have done was open the gun and independently herself checked each and every round. Then, when she took it to the church and handed it to Mr. Halls, she should have done a second complete ammo check with Mr. Halls, because this double redundancy is what helps prevent the kind of incidents that occurred to Ms. Hutchins from happening.
Which makes
This means she should have
sense.
opened the gun, removed each cartridge, confirmed that they were dummy rounds by individually shaking them, rattling them, or seeing the board whole. And because these dummy rounds are so similar to live rounds, her decision to just crack it open and spin the cylinder a little bit to look at the head stamps wasn't enough. She needed to do a much more complete check. So having failed to do that check herself, she then handed the firearm to Mr. Halls anyway. She exited the church, and then Mr. Halls handed the firearm to Mr. Baldwin. As the blocking session was underway, Ms. Hutchins and several of her crewmates were busily working, looking through and adjusting cameras, and Mr. Baldwin was sitting on that church pew, practicing how he would hold the gun for the upcoming filming session. As Mr. Baldwin was manipulating the firearm, he caused it to discharge, and that unfortunately sent a projectile flying directly at Ms. Hutchins. The projectile shot completely through Ms. Hutchins and then struck the film's director, Joel Souza, in the shoulder. So at this point, the set paramedic was called into the
That's
church
so
and
bad.
began life-saving efforts on both Ms. Hutchins and Mr. Souza. Another crew member who was in the church called 911 to report the shooting and to seek additional medical assistance. But because of the ranch's remote location, it took some time before additional medical personnel arrived. And this additional support also included a life flight helicopter for Ms. Hutchins.
And she can't
But
even
medical personnel
unlive
worked to
this. She
stabilize her,
continuously has
and
to
placed
relive
her
this
on
because
the
they're
life
blaming
flight
her.
to UNMH. But sadly, the personnel at UNMH were unable to overcome the injuries that she sustained, and she was pronounced deceased at UNMH. We will show you, ladies and gentlemen, but that by failing to make those vital safety checks, the defendant acted negligently and without due caution, and that the decisions she made that day ultimately contributed to Ms. Hutchins' death. So that's what happened on the 21st. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened leading up to the 21st. There are some other ways that Ms. Gutierrez was negligent on the set. We intend to call several witnesses to give testimony that she regularly failed to properly carry out her duties as an armorer. These witnesses are going to describe the defendant's conduct as unprofessional and sloppy. You will hear testimony that she routinely left guns and ammunition lying around the set unattended, and that her gun safe and ammo cart were constantly disorganized. The second question that we want to answer for you is where these live bullets came from. The prospect of live ammunition landing up on a film set is incomprehensible. It's something that should never happen. It's a hard and fast industry rule that live ammunition should be miles away from a film set at all times because of the risk that it poses for being confused.
Makes
with
a
dummy
lot
rounds
of
that are used on
sense.
set.
What she would just make sense a little bit
I'm showing you
faster.
a picture now of a box of ammunition that Ms. Gutierrez says she was pulling cartridges from and loading into Mr. Baldwin's firearm on the day the fatal shooting occurred. If you can see the arrow that I'm kind of wiggling around here, this is the box of ammunition that she was pulling from. This is a box of dummies. The second box here is a box of blanks. So these are the kind of rounds that will pop and create smoke. These are the type of rounds that are just supposed to be completely inert. When the officers arrived,
Why did
on the
they need
set,
blanks
after
and
the shooting,
dummies then if the one
this
of them
cart
doesn't do
is where those two
anything?
boxes of ammunition were first found. When the officer who
That cart
was
looks
in
a
charge of
mess.
this cart, uncovered that the boxes
I thought he was
were the boxes
exaggerating.
that were being used for that day's filming. He then placed them into his police unit, and that's what you saw in those previous slides. These are the boxes of ammunition inside of a cop car. Eventually, the box of dummies was taken back to the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office, where it was inventoried and photographed by a crime scene technician whose name is Marissa Popple, and she's going to be a witness in this case. The first box of dummies that was opened up is what is on your monitors right now. This is a styrofoam container that has approximately 37 cartridges in it. According to the label on the outside of the box, these are supposed to be dummy cartridges. And I don't know if you've noticed yet, but there is one of these cartridges that doesn't look like the others. It's that one with the red square. You can see that it has a silver primer, whereas all of the other ones have brass primers. The cartridge in that red box is a live bullet. So this was another live bullet that was found on the set.
Jeez, so more than one in the box? It's not looking
Ultimately,
good for
we hear
her.
from us that there were not just these two, but a total of 6 live bullets that were found on the set. 6. You're also going to hear that all 6 of those live rounds have the same, have common characteristics of having this silver or nickel covered primer, a shiny brass casing, and what's called a starline brass.
Well, she should have been able to notice it a lot easier with that.
This impression that is on each of these cartridges, it looks like a star and then a line and a star. That indicates that it's a starline brass manufactured casing. So we knew from the evidence gathered on October 21st, and when we had these rounds examined by the FBI, we discovered that there were actually those 6 live rounds on set. And so our next step was to determine whether there was any way, if we could tell when those live rounds ended up on the set. So we began to comb through all of the photos and videos that had been recorded on the set from the very first day the filming began. And we started to notice something. We were able to identify several points in time where the cartridges with a silver primer and a shiny brass cartridge ended up being spotted inside of the gun belts and bandoliers that the cast members were wearing on the set. In fact, we found a photograph where there was one occasion where a live round was sitting right on Ms. Gutierrez's lap, and she failed to identify it. What you're looking at now is a photograph of Ms. Gutierrez, and on her lap in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that styrofoam casing holder. I'm going to show you a call out that's been enhanced a little bit, and you can see, I hope you can see on your monitors, that these bullets here kind of on the top right appear to have a brass casing, but at least these other 2 bullets, most definitely this cartridge that's in the blue circle, you can see that there is a silver primer on that. I
don't know if I like the enhanced photo idea. It's like different angle.
On her lap, and she failed to identify it. It's important that you know that this photograph was taken on October 10th. And the reason it's important for you to make note that this photograph was taken on October 10th is because the other dummy rounds that were purchased for this movie didn't even arrive to the set until October 12th. So this means that the live ammunition could not have been from the shipment that came in on October 12th and that belonged or that was supplied by somebody other than Ms. Gutierrez.
Because she's trying to blame someone else for bringing the bullets.
We're likely to suggest to you that there was some kind of sabotage on afoot on the set, or that the live rounds came from someone other than Ms. Gutierrez. This photograph, we think, will help you conclude that the live rounds were on set on the 10th, and that the other dummy rounds didn't arrive until the 12th.
Definitely doesn't sound good for her.
These live rounds came onto the set via the defendant when she came to New Mexico from out of state. As you can see from this photo, this is the box of rounds. This is kind of a blown up photograph of the box of rounds that she was pulling from on the day of the shooting. And you can see that it has a very specific label on it. It says 45 long Colt dummies. And then in much smaller print there in the middle, you can see the initials JS. So on November 9th, a couple of weeks after the shooting, the defendant came into the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office for an interview with Corporal Hancock, and she was asked questions about the box of ammunition she was pulling from the day of the incident, this box with the small JS on the label. The defendant told Corporal Hancock that she thought this box was kind of peculiar, and she wasn't certain where it came from, but she said that she didn't believe it was one of the boxes that was originally brought on set. But then the defendant offered to Corporal Hancock that the day prior to the interview, she had asked her father back home to text her a photograph of the box of 45 long Colt dummies that they had at his home. And she texted him, and he texted her this photo in response. It's identical. It's the same box. The box of dummies she was pulling from on the 21st is identical to the box of dummies that her father had at home. So we believe this is more evidence
which she suggests she's the one that brought it.
Came from the defendant.
That sucks for her.
We're also going to show you how these live rounds slowly spread their way throughout the set, eventually landing in several of the actors' costumes and firearms on October 13th, 15th, 17th, and of course on the 21st. In the image on your screen now, you can see in the large photograph.
How did she not notice the difference being the armorer?
There was a live round inside of that bandolier. The black belt that's in the lower right-hand corner is a belt that was worn by another cast member. There's a live round in that belt too. The evidence you're going to hear throughout this trial is that the defendant was unprofessional and that she failed to do the essential safety functions of her job, and that these failures resulted in live ammunition being spread throughout this entire set. Once the live ammunition was on the set, she failed to detect it because she didn't follow those essential safety protocols that required her to inspect every round before they were placed into the gun. The evidence will show that the defendant treated the safety protocols as if they were optional, rather than if people's lives counted on her doing her job correctly. We will show you that as a direct result of her failures, Ms. Gutierrez caused Ms. Hutchins' death. The last, or I should say the second crime that Ms. Gutierrez has been charged with is tampering with evidence. The evidence with regard to this charge is a lot simpler. You're going to hear testimony that on the day that Ms. Hutchins was killed, and after the defendant left her interview at the sheriff's office, she went back to her hotel. Knowing that the defendant had probably been through a lot that day, one of her crewmates went to her room to check on her to see how she was doing. And after they were done visiting, the crew member got up to leave. And as she was walking out of the room, the defendant handed her something and asked her to hang on to it for her. At first, this crew member didn't really realize what she had been handed. So she walked out of the room, started down the hallway. And when she looked into her hand, she realized she had been handed a baggie of suspected cocaine from the defendant. She will testify that she was surprised that the defendant, who is somebody she hardly knew, would hand her a bag of suspected cocaine to hang on to for her. The crew member is going to testify that she disposed of the cocaine. She didn't want to be caught with it, so she just threw it away. And you're going to hear that the defendant, over the next several weeks, texted this crew member several times asking her to return her stuff.
Not asking her for the coke bag.
In reference to the bag of cocaine. I know I've gone through a lot of information with you guys, and I hope you're not too overwhelmed, but that's why we're going to spend the next couple of weeks with you going over all of this evidence in a lot more detail. You're going to hear from a multitude of law enforcement officers. You're going to hear from firearms experts. You're going to hear from 4 FBI analysts covering the topics of fingerprints, DNA, explosives comparisons, and firearms testing. You're going to hear from an image enhancement expert. And most importantly, you're going to hear from witnesses who worked with Ms. Gutierrez every day on the movie set, including the film's director and several of the crew members who were inside the church on the day of this horrific incident. We're confident that after you hear from these witnesses and after you have an opportunity to look at the evidence for yourself in greater detail, you will agree with us that the defendant's actions were not only negligent on October 21st, but on many days leading up to the 21st. We hope that after you review this information, you will find her guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And after reviewing and hearing from the witness concerning the tampering charge, we believe that you will also convict her on the tampering with evidence charge as well. I'm about done, but I do want to leave you with one final statement. And this is a statement that Ms. Gutierrez made when she was being interviewed on the day of the shooting. She says at the end, I don't know. I wish I would have checked it more. And so do we. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Before we take yours, I think we'll take a bathroom break, okay? So please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence.
All right. That's the first part of the testimony, or not the testimony, the opening statements. That's the prosecution. I saw some of y'all already in the chat saying that you did not like how slow he was talking, the delivery that he's giving. Y'all, that was on 1.5 speed. I really wanted to put it on double speed, but I want to make sure that everybody can understand it. What I did realize is that I do have captions here. So I could have turned that on for y'all. So I'll turn that on, or can I turn it on? I don't know if I can turn it on. Okay. But I think my live stream has captions anyways, if you guys couldn't understand it or hear it. So before we get into what the chat has to say, I'm going to go ahead and read off the results of the poll. If you haven't already, please do hit the like button. We do have a like goal of 50 likes, and we are only at 20 likes for the live stream. So we haven't reached the 30 like goal. Let's go ahead. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help us reach our live stream goal. And it also helps us get more friends into the live stream. So make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. The goal is 50 for the live stream, and we have 19 people watching live. So I know we can do it. I know some of y'all has not hit the like button. All right. So before we get into what the chat has to say so far, which, like I said, I know some of y'all was like, oh, why are you talking so slow? Either way it goes, we are going to go ahead and look at the poll that Kimmy put up for us at the beginning of the, or not the beginning, but for the stream, right? The question is, do you think that the armorer is responsible for the rush shooting? And one of the options, yes, it's her fault. 6% thinks that it's solely her fault. The next answer is yes, but she's not solely to blame. 89%. So the majority of the chat said that it's not solely her fault. I don't know what kind of calculation YouTube is doing, but I don't think 12 plus 89 equals 100. I think that equals 101. So I don't know what kind of percentage YouTube got going on in the chat, but they have it going on. And the last answer is no, it was a tragic accident, and that is the other 6% of the vote. So most people think that she is responsible, but not solely responsible. And I have to agree with that because she did have a job. She had a job that she was supposed to follow. She didn't do it correctly, and it ended up with someone being killed. And that's why she's being prosecuted for manslaughter, negligent manslaughter, because you don't have to have an intent behind it. You just have to have a duty that you breached. It caused the damage, and there are damages. So she had a duty to check the gun. She absolutely had the duty as an armorer to check the gun. She breached that duty when she did a fast spin and threw the bullets into the gun without really checking, which her as an armorer, she probably would have noticed pretty early on if she was actually checking the rounds. Oh gosh, all the ones with the silver butt. All the ones with the silver butt, those are live rounds. So I'm not even going to use those ones. And if she was paying attention throughout her process, she probably would have noticed that way early on, but for whatever reason, she didn't, because maybe she was not checking it. So she had a duty. She breached that duty. Her breach caused the death. Now she can argue that had not Baldwin pulled the trigger or pulled the hammer or whatever he's claiming he did that made the gun go off, she would not have died. But you already breached your duty. And if you didn't breach your duty, then whether Baldwin pulled the hammer or the actual trigger, Helena would not have died. So, and there's damages. She died. So there you have it. That's why she's being charged with negligence. I don't think that she did it on purpose. So I agree with the majority of the chat who is saying that, yes, she is responsible, but not solely. It's manslaughter. She's going to get some years if she's convicted, but maybe not so many. And so YouTube corrected their poor math skills with more poor math skills. Now it's saying 5% for yes, it's her fault, and no, it was tragic accident, and 89% for no, she's solely to blame. Again, that still doesn't add up to freaking 100%, YouTube. It only adds up to 99. Get it together. Okay, we're going to end the poll. I guess they don't do percentages. They're like, figure it out. It's close enough to 100. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Kimmy is telling me that there was an issue with the chat and the mods, and apparently closing the stream and the re-entering fixed the issue that the mods are having. So if you're having problems with the chat mods, if you go out of the stream and then come back, it should fix the issue. So I guess it was glitching. All right, let's go ahead and check what the people have to say in the chat. Come on, Bossy, let's bring us in to see what the chat is saying. Sorry, see what the chat is saying so far. Bossy, don't be so rude. Jumping on in there. Let's see here. Kimmy Locker says 1 charge of manslaughter, but 2 theories. So it's either going to be she did something unlawful by bringing the rounds on the set, or she didn't do something unlawful, but she basically not checking the gun properly. Jessie G says she looks young. She is young. She is only 26 years old. Blue Monday says Hannah looks so different in court compared to the day of the incident. Yeah, she's in court. When you're in trouble, you got to look like you're doing, you're not a bad person. You have to look all clean and put together. Now, one thing that I did notice, and this has nothing to do with legal theory, but this lady, whoever she is, paralegal assistant, whoever she is, she came with her makeup completely done. Good for her. She knew she was about to be on TV. Everyone's going to be watching this on YouTube. I'm like, man, when I go to court, they're lucky if I comb my eyebrows down, because who has time to put on makeup at 6 a.m? She does. So has nothing to do with the case. I just thought that was interesting. Blue Monday says, Bree, is that a giant nameplate on the bench? Oh, the giant nameplate on the bench for the judge? It looks so big. I think you're talking about for the judge, right? Yeah, she did have a pretty big nameplate right in front of her face. Tanya D says, Hannah has a good poker face. I think she did for a while, and then she started rolling her eyes. So I don't know if I agree with that all the way. Maybe Meatball says, the prosecutor's delivery really turned me off. It's slow. He's going every 2 seconds. Like, sir, you're reading off of a piece of paper. Why are you saying just read the words, unless they're just like notes, so he's messing up, that's why. But it's like he's trying to remind himself and convince himself of the theory that they're actually going for. I thought that was interesting. Lady Drakeness says, I had a hard time following the prosecution opening statement due to his slower delivery. It was really slow. It was slow, and the and him being confused, that threw me off. Blue Monday says, he's a bit boring to listen to. Hard to stay focused. I feel you on that. I'm like, I wish I could put it on 1.75 or 2, but we needed everyone to understand what was going on. So we have a pretty clear picture of what they're saying. I still don't, and I don't deal with guns. I don't like guns. They are kind of scary. I've shot a gun 2 times. I don't think I ever have to do it again unless somebody tries to break into my house. But we're not talking about me, Bree. I don't understand the point of the dummy rounds, and then what's the other ones called? The dummy rounds and what did they call the other ones? I forgot. I guess one makes smoke and powder, and then the other one is just there. What's the point of the one that doesn't do anything? He says it's just inert, and I cannot think of the definition of inert, so I am going to type it in and remind myself what that means. Inert definition means lacking the ability or strength to move, lack of vigor. So it basically is inactive. But why do I need dummy and the popper ones? Why do I need both of those? If anyone knows, please let me know why you need both. I feel like the blanks. Thank you, Kimmy, in the back. The blanks are the other ones that they have. What's the point of having blanks and dummies? I guess the dummies are the ones that pop fire, or not fire, but smoke. And then the blanks are just blank. I don't get it. I don't know. Why can't we just have all dummies? Or I would say have all dummies. But I guess if you just need to practice pulling the trigger, you don't need it to smoke. You don't want to use up all your smoke dummy rounds. I don't know. I don't get the point of having both. But anyways, Tanya D says he was very monotone. He didn't emphasize the important points. No, he didn't give me any energy. No energy coming from this guy here. Okay. Small says to Tiny, big agree, love it. Lady Draken says, yeah, he did. Kimmy Locker says his delivery is really a shame because he makes some demon points and has pictures, so it could have been so much more. Look at this gun. It looks old, but it's not. It's brand new. So it's not just all damaged. It hasn't had 100 rounds fired out of it. It's brand new and should have never had any rounds fired out of it on set. See, sir? You see, energy. Give us energy, sir. Maybe he's nervous because you know it's going to be live streamed, but I don't know. I don't know if I just made a compelling argument or not, but I feel like I gave entertainment. I feel like I made it YouTube worthy. You know you're going to be on YouTube, sir. Come on, give us some energy. That's why I'm not allowed. This is why I'm not allowed to do these cases. Let's see. Okay, so Kimmy was saying it might not just be a mod thing with the chat. So if your chat is glitching and you got to come out and come back in, that might be the solution to it. I also know my Wi-Fi is, doing whatever it wants, coming on and off. Right now, my computer is telling me I don't have any Wi-Fi. So I'm happy that y'all are all still here with me, but my computer is saying I don't have any Wi-Fi. So it may be me. Kimmy says, He also didn't jump into the important and or interesting parts like he should have, in my opinion. I think he did a good order with like explaining what the dummy rounds are and all of the things. Although I still don't understand why you need both, but it's not for me to understand, right? He just didn't emphasize. I think he went in a good order. I just don't think he hit his points. It makes sense. A lot of the stuff does look bad for her, but I don't think he made me feel it. Make me feel it a little bit. He's hoping that the witnesses carry all the weight. Small says, I would assume the shooting was filmed because the cameras are almost always rolling, but I wonder if they're not allowed to show the actual shooting. In trial, they can. But the video that they previously showed, it did look like someone just kind of recording behind the scenes on their phone. So maybe they're not rolling, but you would think that if they're trying to figure out lighting, they would have it rolling so that if they need to play it back to see, okay, what was what did it look like when I had it on these settings? I don't know, but that's why I'm not on a film production crew, right? Sakatoa says, no, it wasn't filmed as far as the shooting, because I did ask, was that filmed? And they're saying no. Small says to Sokotoa, oh, interesting. I'm surprised. Thank you for confirming. Yes. Lady Jaconis says, her facial expressions were something. Yeah, when she started rolling her eyes, I don't think she could control it after that. Tiny D thought this was interesting. Lady Draconis says, I think him explaining the incident, then talking about the events before leading up to it was a mistake, in my opinion. As far as the order, I didn't even realize that he did that. But, he's boring. So why would I realize that? I thought he did a good order. I think the incidents leading up before it could show like, oh, if she did it on this day, then she likely did it on this day. But what did she do on the day of? Can we make that jump? Are you providing reasonable doubt? Are you putting reasonable doubt out here? Are you proving your case? Because, since she did it on Monday, I'm supposed to expect that she also did it on Friday. Like she didn't get reprimanded sometime in between or something of that nature. So they're really going to have to point out what actually happened on that day. And he did mention like, okay, this is what happened. And then look at all of these other rounds in the belts and all the things. So interesting. That's an interesting take. Lady Draconis says, I prefer keeping it chronological. I agree with you. I see where he went out. In the beginning, he did keep it in order pretty well. But he's like, oh, let me go back. Sogatoa says, great question, Bree. Why would there be live rounds at all? There should not have been live rounds at all. That's what she was supposed to be checking for. But basically she said there was, or what the prosecutor said is that there was a second round delivered on the 12th. And she's claiming that the live rounds came from the second round of bullets delivered on the 12th. Prosecution is saying no, because she took that picture on the 10th. And it was the same box that she got from her daddy's house, who I believe is also an armorer. So it would have been her mess up or her daddy's mess up, or whoever filled that box, they would have been the one that messed up, is the point that the prosecution is going to try to make. Kimmy Lockett says, if I remember correctly, he was sleepy during the motions hearing too, which it was ironic given how fiery it got, but at least the other prosecutor's demeanor improved in court. Okay. I didn't watch the motions one, so I can't really comment on how they were acting. Sokatoa says, wow. Lady Draconis says 6 live rounds just in what they found. Imagine if there were more boxes to come, right? More boxes to come. Tanya D says, I wouldn't even cook in my kitchen with that disorganization. Yeah, when he said, oh, it was disorganized, I was like, I'm sure it wasn't disorganized. That sounds like a stretch. No, that cart was a mess. Absolute mess. Blue Monday says, I agree that she should have easily noticed the difference. It's a large part of her job to know what bullets look like. And even if she didn't know what those particular bullets look like, even though it probably came from her daddy's house, she could have shook it, like homeboy said. You could shake it. And then the other way is to see that there's a hole on the other side. And you know what? Hey, every time I shake this one with the silver butt, it doesn't make any noise. So that's a live round. Why didn't she put like learning, what do you call it? similarities. I guess that would be a good word. Learning the similarities or the dissimilarities of, okay, the ones that tend to not have anything in it are live rounds. And I noticed that this one has a silver butt. Oh, so probably all of the ones with the silver butt are live rounds. So I'll be extra cautious when I'm jiggling that one. That's what I would think. Tanya D says, shout out to everyone who hit the like button. Yes, of course. Let's check where we are with the likes. We are at 21 likes, y'all. I just asked y'all to hit the like button like 10 minutes ago. Our goal is 50 likes for the live stream. So if you have not hit the like button, please do. It helps us gain more friends and it will help us hit our like goal for the stream. I know Homeboy was boring, but you still like the Bree Hive, right? Tanya D says, I want to know how they proved it was coke. It has to be more than just the lady saying it was. Right. I'm wondering if some of the text messages said, hey, give me my stuff. And she's like, what stuff? My coke? I don't know. Because the girl said she threw it away. So how are we going to just assume this little white powder and this little baggie is coke? I think we can all assume that is coke, but it could have been sugar, right? But why would she be hiding the sugar from the police? I don't know. Kimmy says captions are already on for me. Okay, perfect. Spicy smalls. I pre-read your comment and yeah, it just got all weird. My narrow spicy brain had a tough time paying attention to the prosecution. Bruh, they better hope that jury is full of neurotypical and allistic folks or get someone else to do the speaking. Like, how did they land on him to do the opening? How did we land on him? I want you to be like enthusiastic. Convince me of what's happening. Convince me of what's to come. You didn't. You sound like they gave me this job yesterday. Let me get on the stand. Small says, LOL, they probably rounded up for the poll because, yeah, the math is off. The math was off. Sakatoa says, their rounding has an error on it. Right. Right. But it was an uneven number. It was an odd number. So maybe that's why. Just Me MD says, what kind of sentence is she facing? I don't know. I haven't looked up what the length of the sentence would be, but I can do that once I get through my chats. Small says, see, I can empathize and even sympathize with her in the sense that working in Hollywood as a newbie and as a woman, especially in what is typically a man's job, is hella intimidating. So I can agree with that. Small says, I imagine saying no or standing up to certain folks is probably tough. It would have cost the production thousands, and she still had a job to do with very serious responsibilities. So yeah, she's responsible. And I remember when we first covered this case, they kept bringing up, oh, they had her doing all of these things that were not her jobs. Now the prosecution is saying that the prop manager also was her job. So why did you give one person two of those jobs? So can we blame more of the production and Baldwin, who is the owner of the production company? We can probably blame him a little bit more, but also at the same time, I get being new and not wanting to stand up with people. You have a job, girl, and you have a job that can cost people their lives. So if someone's being a little mean to you because you're going a little slow, suck it. Hire someone else if you don't like how fast I'm moving. But she had to do her job, and I get it. Feel bad for her, but she had a job to do. Small says, yeah, the judge had a giant nameplate, biggest one I've ever seen. Hello. It was huge. Blue Monday says, do any of you feel differently finding out that the at rounds may have come from her home, according to the picture from her dad? I feel like they came from her. With putting that point out, that's what made me believe it came from her. Because it sounds like she brought the initial dummy round onto the set and then they had a second delivery. I could be misinterpreting what they're saying, but I think that's what they're saying. So there's that. Jazzy G says, Blue Mondays, that was wild. It might have come from her house because she was, remember at the beginning, they said she was the one responsible for sourcing the bullets and sourcing the guns. So she could have potentially either, because her dad is an armorer too. oh, my dad has some dummy rounds. Let me just grab those ones and take it to the rush unit. I don't have to spend any more money. Maybe I get to pocket a little money and tell him I spent $20. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, right? Or maybe she bought them, left them at her house, and then grabbed them from the garage when it was time to go driving to the set. So she was in charge of sourcing it, and apparently she transported it according to what the prosecution is saying. Just Me MD says, trying to understand why live rounds are necessary on any set. Live rounds are not supposed to be on any set. That's the purpose of this lawsuit. No live rounds on the set. They have the dummy ones and they have the blank ones. Those are the only ones that are allowed on the set. So technically there's 3 different types of bullets that we're talking about here in this case. Dummies, blanks, and live rounds. She messed up by allowing live rounds on the set. They said it's a hard and fast rule. That's what he said. Hard and fast rule. Don't know what the rule is. Don't know what the law is, but it's a hard and fast rule that live rounds are supposed to not be anywhere near the set. So she messed up and letting the live rounds make it to the set is what they're arguing. So Katoa says, my chat was doing that for other lives today. People might just be really busy on this Thursday. Kimmy Locker says, since I don't know how many messages YouTube will let me send, don't forget to like the stream, everyone. Yes, of course, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps us out. Just Me MD says, good point, Bree. If there were a number of safety issues with her, were there any steps taken to write her up? Threats of job loss, anything? No wonder several staff were wanting to quit. Yeah, that's it. You're dealing with people's lives, and they're saying you've been messing up for a week, and they don't do anything to correct the behavior or hire a new freaking armorer because this girl is gonna get someone killed, which she did. That's a good point. Small says, I was trying not to, but I'm starting to believe she was in fact not sober on set that day, or she was just the apathetic, naive about her actual responsibility. She really took safety for granted. It kind of seemed like either she was just being lazy or she really just didn't know what she was doing. That's what I'm getting from it. Do you need any like certification to become an armorer? I would be sure that you do, right? Small says, oop, not spicy smalls. I'll take it. Love it. Blue Monday says to Jazzy G, I was really shocked that there is evidence it came from her home. Yeah, why are you bringing this from your house? But like I said, her dad is also an armorer. It could have just been in the house and she saved some money or saved some time by not having to go buy dummies. Buy dummies? That sounds bad. Just Me MD says, were there any concerns of drug use before this? I don't know. They did talk about it and that she does use drugs, but it's offset. You can use, I mean, you're not supposed to use cocaine and illegal drugs and things like that. But if you're offset, you can't really blame her now. If she did it last night, if she's still high in the morning, maybe. But other than that exchange of drugs and saying, oh, let me get rid of my drugs before they think that I was doing drugs on set, could kind of make you jump and say, oh, maybe she was doing drugs on set and she didn't want them to test her and say that she was doing drugs on set. But the fact that they didn't drug test her the day of, I think they would have had a hard time proving it. Honestly, I'm going to shut up because I don't know how long cocaine stays in your body. I don't know if it stays in there for days or just a couple of hours to test for drugs. I don't know. And to answer that question, I would assume no, there was not any expectation of drugs because they would have probably drug tested her that day. That would be my opinion. Small says to Just Me MD, great question. Did anyone suspect anything? I'm going to go no. Because why didn't they drug test her day of? And like I said, I don't know how long cocaine stays in your body. Is it a day? Is it a couple hours? You know, different drugs, different lengths. Just Me MD says, as I understand, wasn't this her first big film and her poppy helped her get that job? Yes, that is my remembrance of how she got this job. Her dad is an armorer, and this was her first job, I think, as a lead armorer, and if I remember correctly. Small says to Just Me MD, which is what made me think she took for granted set safety and her direct responsibility in ensuring. Now, I don't know. Yeah. Either way, whether you feel sorry for her or not, she had a job to do. Small says another great point when nepotism becomes deadly. That's where we're at right now. Kimmy Locker says suggest me MD and Smalls. I believe this was the second movie she worked on, and she was 24. I don't think she was only a nepo hire though. I think she was willing to accept low pay and nonsense on the set. Yeah, probably a little bit of both. But so it's her second movie, but I think it's her first movie as a lead of the armor, if I'm not mistaken, or the only armor. I don't know if there was more than one. Small says, oh, wow, look at me assuming she knew the job and was just being arrogant. Oop, she could have possibly had no idea, been totally unqualified. My lack of privilege didn't even let me consider that. Yeah, I think she either just didn't know what she was doing or wasn't paying attention. Small says to Kimmy Locker, see, that's what I was thinking initially, qualified and inexperienced and intimidated. Yeah. All of the things can be at play at once. I just don't think she probably was qualified to do this by herself yet. Kimmy says cocaine doesn't last for long, but people can do it for a long time and or be tired, hungover after a long night. Makes sense. Makes sense. Small says now I don't know. Yeah. So that was the prosecution. Thank you everyone for the chat and all the interaction. Talking about Mr. Defense's opening statement, I'm going to go ahead and skip to the defendants. A good thing that the defendants is not as long, so we won't have to be sitting in boredom for long periods of time. This time, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to his opening statement. Let's go one more. Okay, I think that's close enough for him. We got Mr. Baldy coming up. His name is not Mr. Baldy, but he is a bald-headed man. Not to be offensive to anyone watching the stream who is bald-headed. Being bald-headed, it's cool on some occasions. Here we go. Mr. Baldy with his assistant with the beat face. Love it. Love that for her. Knew you were about to be on TV. Girl, love that for you. All right, let's see. Oh, yes, we do need our pet. Thank you, Kimmy. Bossy's like, you only bring me out to do work. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the defense's opening statement, who is luckily a lot less long-winded than the defense. Straight, short, to the point. We don't need all that extra mumbo jumbo and let me flip my paper and let me try to remember what story I'm trying to tell the jury because I'm working on multiple cases. I don't know if that's his problem, but yeah, let's see what Mr. Defense has to say. Again, y'all, this is a live reaction. He might be just as boring. I don't know.
You will hear that Hollywood actors are not allowed to point guns, real guns, at other actors or crew. It's like every other safety with guns and any other at church or firing that weapon. That was Alec Baldwin.
They started in the middle of his talking.
Hollywood actors are not allowed to point guns, real guns, at other actors or crew. It's like every other safety with guns in any other place in society. You learn these rules and go into the classes. You learn these rules if you've ever owned a gun. Rule number 1, never point a firearm at somebody unless you intend to shoot them. And that rule was broken. And that's going to be the first thing you're going to hear.
What law is that?
That caused this tragic accident. The second thing is that Hannah is being made a scapegoat for are deliberate errors and mistakes by production. So the opening, counsel for the state talked about Ms. Gutierrez-Reed and tried to put all of the onus on her. At the time, she was 24 years old. She had been hired for 2 duties.
She still got the job.
You're going to hear what that is. And the armorer role. 2 different duties. So they were splitting her between those and making her, for example, roll cowboy cigarettes. That was one of them for the movie, and they had props that the actors have. And so she was having to do that to take away from her armorer duties. You're going to hear about that. Now, OSHA is a New Mexico agency, and that New Mexico agency inspected the movie and investigated the shooting after the shooting.
OSHA is not just a New Mexican.
They found numerous faults, numerous mistakes on production's part, not Ms. Gutierrez-Reed on production. You're going to hear that OSHA indicated that there was a rush set, that there were several safety errors. And I'm going to talk about those in a moment, but I want to make that very clear. When the state talks about Ms. Gutierrez-Reed being negligent, what really happened is production was negligent. Production put her in that position. They put her in the position of having 2 jobs, a props assistant and an armorer, and expected a 24-year-old under really tough conditions to keep up with everything that was going on. And you're going to hear about that.
Being 24 does not absolve her of guilt.
Who was on the set. You're going to hear Gabrielle Pickle. And she asked her for more armor days. She said in this email, when I'm not able to focus on my armor duties, this is when mistakes happen. And she was telling her this. Now, Ms. Pickle came back and said, no, we only have 8 armor days, and that's all you're going to get. So out of the whole course of the movie, they didn't allow her to be in armor and to perform those duties to the extent that she had to. And that's going to be a very important point, too. They moved her between 2 different things, props assistant and armor. Counsel for the state in his opening said that Ms. Gutierrez-Reed had the job of sourcing the ammo and sourcing the firearms on set. Now, you're going to hear when you go through this about another name, and her name is Sarah Zachary. Sarah Zachary was the props head. So as the head of props department, she was Ms. Gutierrez-Reed's boss. In that role, Sarah Zachary had to source the ammunition and had to source the firearms. So that was not correct, what counsel stated in the opening. In reality, that was Sarah Zachary's job. Now you're going to hear that what happened is those two worked together in conjunction. Hannah was, Ms. Gutierrez-Reed was supposed to be doing armor, and then she was supposed to run over and help Sarah Zachary whenever she wanted the help on props. So a lot of what you're going to hear is a chaotic scene created by production and forcing somebody to do these 2 different roles. You're going to hear witnesses in this case, including professional armor that the state is hired.
That is a really big name sign.
Completely inadvisable and a terrible decision on a movie like this with so many guns that you have a part-time armor. It's not a good idea. And that's a terrible idea, but that's what they did.
It's a terrible idea.
You will hear the scene in the church was a blocking. It was a getting ready for a rehearsal. So you're going to hear that Ms. Gutierrez-Reed had brought the gun to Mr. Halls, that Mr. Halls never should have handled that weapon. And you're going to see he had a lot of experience in movies. He knew better. He had the weapon. He did not inspect that fully. And you're going to see that Mr. Baldwin didn't inspect it at all. So when counsel showed you that video on the first part of it, when he's sitting in that pew and doing that cross draw, you're going to hear about that. You're going to hear how dangerous a seated cross draw is. It's one of the more dangerous draws you can do because you're pulling the weapon across your body, and you can also pull it across other people. So you're going to hear that Ms. Gutierrez-Reed specifically requested to train Mr. Baldwin in a cross draw. You're also going to hear that he did not do that training. He did not set that training up. So when this tragic shooting occurred, it was in the very motion of a cross draw. You're also going to hear that this scene, this blocking, didn't even require him to draw that weapon. So it's just going to be an extreme close-up scene of his hand pulling out of his holster. And they were going to focus on that, create tension in the scene in the movie. And instead, for whatever reason, Mr. Baldwin pulled it out, and it ends up being pointed right at Ms. Hutchins, the camera, and Mr. Souza. You're also going to hear, we're going to talk about in the course of this case, there's Hollywood tricks. These guns should never be pointed at another person. But instead, what should happen is there's camera tricks that you can use to make it look like it's pointed, but it's not. There's also things we're going to talk about that Mr. Baldwin did at that moment that he violated and safety rules. Our gun and ammunition expert, Mr. Kuski, who you're going to hear from, is going to discuss safe gun handling and usage and go through safety bulletins. These safety bulletins apply on this set to movie actors, and he's going to talk about that. Second, let me talk about the live rounds. Now, the state has a relatively new theory, which is based totally on pictures. And you saw some of those pictures. And it's also based on the idea that live rounds have a silver primer on this set. So that's going to be the core of their argument and their theory. And you saw in the picture, one of them had a silver primer. And the primer is just that circle in the middle of the round on the back where the hammer hits, and that's what caused the round to fire. Now, what you didn't hear in state's opening was that there's going to be numerous dummy rounds that also have silver primers that were on the set. There was a FBI report you're going to see that.
What I say, you have to be more careful with silver rounds, not just count them out.
Live round. So this was a box found in the prop truck. So the theory that all the silver primer rounds are live is not correct. It's just not true.
He didn't say that though.
Because of these silver primer dummies, that theory does not work. Second, you're going to hear that Russ Production ordered all the dummies on set. Russ Production sourced these primarily from a man named Seth Kinney. Seth Kinney owned PDQ Props. PDQ Props was the primary supplier to the Russ set. Now you're going to hear that after the shooting, Seth Kinney was extremely active in contacting the sheriffs and trying to work with them and trying to point the finger away from himself. And you're going to hear about that. You're also going to hear that Sarah Zachary, who I told you about earlier, after the shooting, he sent a text to Seth Kinney and it said emergency. Now, Sarah Zachary works for Seth Kinney on PDQ Props. She worked on set, but she was under him. She sent a text to Seth Kinney saying emergency. You're then going to hear that they had a phone call very shortly after. This was just minutes after the shooting. Sarah and Seth are talking on the phone. Now, we don't have that actual phone call, but whatever was said, here's what happened the very next thing. Sarah Zachary goes over and removes rounds from two of the weapons, two of the actors' guns, and she throws them away. Now, that's
That sounds
absolute and
bad.
complete scene tampering. And when
She's
she
not on
told the
trial though.
sheriff, Sarah Zachary said, "I was panicked," and that's all I can tell you. Now, I expect in the course of this case, you're going to hear that when she was interviewed, she's going to say something like, "I threw them away because that's what we do after scenes." And you're going to get to evaluate her credibility and determine, why would these be thrown away? If they're dummy rounds, they're rounds that can be reused. They cost money. It doesn't make sense. You would just throw them away. And what was the real reason Sarah Zachary threw those rounds away right after her call with Seth Kinney? Now, you're also going to hear that right after the shooting, Sarah Zachary went over and she shook some rounds and determined that they didn't shake, meaning she felt like they were live rounds. So then she throws these away. Now, they're thrown in trash. She tells law enforcement, but on that day, they don't find them. But she threw them in trash right by the prop truck, you're going to hear, but they didn't find them. So we don't have those rounds. And you're not going to be able to hear this in the course of this case or see what Sarah Zachary threw away. You're not going to be able to have that because they were never recovered. That's scene tampering. You're also going to hear another instance of scene tampering, that Sarah Zachary carried items from the prop cart. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that prop cart. Right after the shooting, she carried items to the prop truck. So she moved items from the cart, knowing there had been a shooting, knowing law enforcement's going to be here, to the prop truck. So the other problem with the state's theory now, and showing you that picture of those boxes in Benavides' truck and how they were kept on the seat, is that we don't know what was taken from the cart completely. What we do know is that one box, Seth Kinney's box, appeared and was found in the prop truck. And we know that Sarah Zachary transported items from the prop cart to the prop truck. We know that. But we're never going to know exactly what was on that cart at the time of the shooting because it was tampered with. We're also not going to know, because you're going to see on Officer Benavides' lapel video, that right after the shooting, Miss Gutierrez-Reed was taken into his vehicle and segregated. She was segregated from all the other witnesses. She's sitting in his vehicle. Officer Benavides Deputy Benavides feels like he has to stay with Miss Gutierrez-Reed because she's distraught. So he tells another person to go get the prop cart. The prop cart is over by the church. He tells somebody else to walk over and get it. Now, I think he's going to acknowledge that he should have gone and got that prop cart. Problem with that is this is just a random, this is not a law enforcement, not random, we know who it is, but this is law enforcement's job to secure the scene. After a shooting like this, you don't want evidence to go walking away. You don't want it to go missing. You don't want it, because we're here on a reasonable doubt standard. That standard is the highest standard under our law. That means you can't convict somebody in this country, no matter who they are, unless you prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And what we've got here is theories based on evidence that has already been tampered with. And you're going to hear that in this case. That's not even going to be questioned. So you're going to have to take the leap that whatever Sarah took to the prop truck, we don't know. And whatever she did with those rounds, we don't know. And you may not know why. But I can tell you, it occurred right after the call with Seth Kinney. And you're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about his contacts with a witness named Del Reed. Del Reed is the father of Miss Gutierrez-Reed. Del Reed is one of the most renowned armorers in the history of movies. You're going to hear that he's been doing this for over 50 years. He's trained Brad Pitt, Sharon Stone, Denzel Washington. He did Tombstone. Some of you might have seen that. He did 3:10 to Yuma. He's the real deal. And you're going to hear that he trained Miss Gutierrez-Reed. She was very well trained. She also went to film school, and she completed a bachelor's degree in that. So you're going to see that she was trained, she was educated, and she was ready for this job. Now, it was her second job as head armorer. You're going to hear that she had one prior, and she had also worked as an assistant on another movie. But you're going to hear that from the time she was a little girl, her dad, Del Reed, had her on these movie sets, and he was training her. Now, Phil, the reason why I mention him is he and Seth Kinney, right before Rust started, were on another movie set called Yellowstone 1883, and that occurred in Texas. You're going to hear that Phil Reed brought live rounds. These were 45 Colt live rounds to Texas, and he and Seth Kinney were going to train the actors on a range, not on the set, but on a range. So they sometimes train these actors to fire the weapon and see how the recoil is and kind of get a feel for it for the movie scene. So he brought these live rounds. They did the training. They did Yellowstone 83. And then Seth Kinney kept these live rounds in an ammo can. He did not give them back to Phil Reed. And again, you're going to see these were 45 Colt live rounds. Fast forward. Wasn't that much longer, within months, that we have the rest set. And Seth Kinney is the primary supplier of ammunition to the rest set. You're going to see evidence in this case that Seth Kinney's rounds in a box that the sheriffs found were blue. They were a certain color. And we'll remind you, as we go through, we'll highlight that, but they were a certain color. And you're going to see, for example, on the picture that the state showed you in their opening, the live round they said that was in that gun belt, it's the same color. And you're going to be able to put that together as the evidence comes through. It's the same color as the rounds that Seth had that were blued. You're also going to hear that the sheriff's investigation.
I don't think a lot of these
Seth
arguments
Kinney's
is helping
fingerprints.
her.
They never took his DNA. They didn't take his cell phone. So again, we're going to be missing evidence. knowing that Seth Kenney was the primary ammunition supplier, knowing that he and Sarah Zachary had talked right after the shooting, Sarah had thrown rounds away, Sarah had moved stuff from the prop truck, none of Seth Kenney's phone, fingerprints, or DNA were taken. And you're also going to hear that there was no request to the FBI to check those live rounds for fingerprints or DNA. None. So the FBI lab was requested to do a bunch of forensic tests. They were testing the firearm Mr. Baldwin used to see if it functioned correctly. You're going to hear about other tests they did, but no testing on the live rounds. Zero. Again, that's going to be evidence that you are never going to see or have because the government didn't do it. And again, we have a reasonable doubt standard. Our expert, Mr. Kuski, is going to talk about the government's theory, state's theory, about these colors and the rounds. And I talked about that earlier briefly, but I'm just going to say it again because it's so important. You cannot tell a live round from a dummy by a picture. And the reason for that is that the dummies are made in Hollywood to look just like live rounds. Now, the point of that is the people watching the movie don't know that it's a dummy. They're made to look just like a live round. Now, the picture counsel for the state showed earlier.
Thank you for explaining that.
The hole in that round. That is how they make some of the dummies. It's not how they make all the dummies. Some of the dummies, unfortunately, do not shake, and they do not have a hole in them. And you're going to hear that.
Then how do you
one of those
check them?
rounds was on this set. It's going to be in the CSI Tech, Miss Popple. It's in her report. It's called a Denix round from Spain. That round did not shake. So that's a dummy that looks like a live round, and it does not shake with the BB, so you can tell. Mr. Kuski is going to talk about how this is highly dangerous and how Ms. Gutierrez-Reed was faced with a situation on the set of dealing with a mixed match of dummies, cheap dummies, he's going to call garbage, that were just thrown together that she had to deal with. Again, while OSHA's going to tell you she's being rushed, she's having to perform 2 jobs, she's asking for more resources and help from her manager, and she's not getting it. Third, you're going to hear that David Hall, the first assistant director, that he's going to say Ms. Gutierrez-Reed was doing a good job. Now he's going to, and she did good with safety on set. He was the first assistant director. He was the one that took the firearm and handed it to Baldwin. You're going to hear testimony that he never should have had that firearm, never. You're going to hear from a director, PJ Pesh, who's done movies for over 30 years. PJ Pesh has done, you're going to hear about all his credits. He's worked on all kinds of movies. He's going to tell you that he's never seen a first assistant director in all those movies ever handle a weapon and hand it to the actor. This was a highly, highly unusual setup and management created by production. That was their fault. And what they tried to do, and what you're seeing in this courtroom today, is trying to blame it all on Hannah, the 24-year-old, because why? Because she's an easy target. She's the least powerful person on that set. So what do we do?
She's literally the armorer.
They target her. You're also going to hear that David Halls, he did not address prior safety issues. And this is part of the thing that OSHA's found. David Halls, there were 2 accidental or negligent discharges on set. And what that is Sarah Zachary had one of them, and a stunt double for Baldwin had another one. What those are, you have a firearm with a blank in it, and you don't either decock it, it's called, where you put the hammer down slowly so it doesn't fire. You don't do that right, and then it goes off unexpectedly. Sarah Zachary did that. The second one you're going to hear, a stunt double had a misfire, and these were on the same day, 5 days before the shooting, October 16th, the same day within an hour apart. Ms. Gutierrez-Reed addressed it by talking about them because these are safety incidents. You can't have misfires like this, negligent discharges like this. People are walking around, they don't have ear protection. These blanks can actually fire off stuff out of smoke and everything. It can, it's dangerous. So David Halls did not do anything about it. Again, that's his job. You're going to hear that he was the security coordinator for the entire set. But David Halls didn't delay. He didn't order additional training. You're going to hear some of the head people, if you hear from them in this trial for Russ Production, some of the head guys, they didn't even know about it. So they weren't informed about it. That's how much the production cared about safety. Because you know what the primary thing was here? Was rush, get this done so we can get the money. And that's all on production. And Mr. Baldwin is one of the primary producers. That's on them. Ms. Gutierrez-Reed had no control over that. Finally, you're going to hear from OSHA that Russ Production didn't adhere to several safety rules that they have to adhere to on set. That's why they were fined. They're given the largest fine in the history of New Mexico over this case because of what they did. You're going to hear that they didn't have a procedure to ensure live rounds were not brought into set, nor did they give Ms. Zachary or Ms. Gutierrez-Reed enough time to thoroughly inventory. You're going to hear that Halls did not conduct daily safety meetings, and there was no safety instruction prior to Baldwin using the gun in the church. You're going to hear that Russ failed to accord Ms. Gutierrez-Reed more training days, and she was not able to train Baldwin on the cross draw. And you're going to hear again that Mr. Baldwin, one of the lead producers, head actor in the movie, who really controlled the set, you're going to hear that he violated some of the most basic gun safety rules you can ever learn. From a young age, we all learn you don't point a gun at somebody ever, unless you want to shoot them. You treat all guns as loaded, and you keep your finger out of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. He violated all those. It wasn't Ms. Gutierrez-Reed, it was Mr. Baldwin. Now you're going to hear from some other witnesses. There's me, a lot of them, but the core principles at the end are you're going to be missing critical evidence. You're going to not hear about Seth Kenney because the government didn't investigate him. It chose not to. Mr. Kenney, primary ammo supplier, talking with Sarah Zachary, she's throwing stuff away. They didn't go after him. They went after Ms. Gutierrez-Reed. And you can think about that. Why would they do that? Ms. Gutierrez-Reed did the best job she could under very, very tough circumstances, trying to get into this profession, a profession she really wanted to do. She was trained by her dad, a longtime armorer, 24 years old. She had insufficient time to do her armor duties because she was also forced to do props. And management made a number of mistakes and did not create the proper atmosphere. Russ Production and the state want to scapegoat her. She is not guilty of the crimes charged against her. And the prosecution must prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. And I submit they will not in this trial for the reasons I've stated and the evidence that you will see.
All right, thank you. As requested by the council.
All right. So, sir, good job. He was definitely a lot more entertaining, in my opinion. He was definitely a lot more entertaining. However, I'm not really buying what he's putting down. So let me go ahead and have Bossy bring us in, and then we'll jump into the... So let's talk about why I'm not really buying what he's putting down. Although all of these other people probably did some things, is he asking the jury to assume that once the gun was handed to David Hall, that David Hall somehow switched out the ammo, that the armorer, the person that's responsible for checking these bullets, are they trying to say that he put some different rounds in there? I don't understand how that would resolve her of any liability unless she can prove that she didn't even put those rounds in the gun. It was David Hall that did it. But they're not saying that. They're admitting that she's the one that handed the gun to David Hall. And if she's the armorer and she knows that David Hall is not supposed to touch the guns because you guys are going to have someone who's super trained in this and has never seen the first director, first chair, whatever David Hall was, touch a gun, why is she, as the armorer, letting him touch the gun? So you can blame everybody you want to, but if your job is to handle the gun and send it to the person, send it to Alec Baldwin with the proper rounds in there, which you clearly did not have the proper rounds in there, you can't absolve yourself of liability just because there were some things in between. These are not intervening causes that takes away her liability. This is, you put the bullets in the gun, girl. And the purpose, if the blame should be on the guy that supplied the rounds, okay, if the blame should be on him, there would be no reason to have her on set to check the rounds, each round. So I get his point. I get other people may have added some causation in there, but her literal job is to check and make sure the rounds are not live, even if the supplier did the wrong thing, right? Even if the supplier did the wrong thing, she's there to intervene. She is the intervening cause, not David Hall, not Alec Baldwin. Is Alec Baldwin probably dumb with pointing the gun at somebody? Yeah, that's why he's being charged too, not just her. Because she is the cause, and Baldwin is not an intervening cause. He's just another cause. He basically amplified it, right? He doesn't stop it. Because if he didn't point it, then yeah, she wouldn't have died. But guess what? That live round would have still went off, and that would have still been her fault. So, yeah, I don't think it was an intervening cause. And that's basically what he's trying to argue. Remember, duty. She had a duty to check those rounds. She had a duty to show those rounds to Baldwin, not to David Hall, to Baldwin, and she didn't do it. As the trained, educated person that her defense attorney just said she was, she didn't do what she was supposed to do. Whether David Hall was supposed to be doing it or not. They confirmed it was her second time as the lead armorer, and she messed up this time. You mess up sometimes, right? But you can't then go putting the blame on everybody else. And the fact that he kept saying, oh, she's 24. Oh, she's 24. Oh, she's 20. She's an adult and she took the job. Doesn't matter if she's 24. That's like me going to court and losing the case and saying, well, you know what? I'm only 24. I'm not 24, y'all. But you know what? I'm only 24. Why did you trust me with the case? I just presented my law degree and my bar license number. Why would you trust me? I'm only 24. You should blame my boss. She's not 24. She's older than 24. Blame my boss, not me. Like, it doesn't work like that. Anyways, I'm done with my rant on that one. Let's go ahead and jump into the chat while Bossy come back in to get there. All right, y'all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Aggressive ranting from Bree. Thank you. Okay, let's see what the chat has to say. Kimmy Lockett says, I think it's a chicken and egg situation. She wasn't qualified, but production didn't seem to care about safety. Exactly. Everybody's at fault. But you know whose job it was to be the armorer? Hers. No matter if production sucks. Can they also be charged? Yes. They can also be charged, but they're not at this moment. Only Alec. Alec is the only other one. So we're not saying no one else is at fault. We're just saying you're at fault too. And there was no intervening cause coming in between that. I don't think they're going to be able to prove, or they don't have to prove it. It's up to the prosecution to plead their case. I don't think they're going to get summary judgment on this. I think they're going to have to go through the whole case. What's your defense, dude? We're going to have to hear the defense because she still had a job. I think they're going to be able to prove duty, breach, causation, and damages. I think they do. Small says to Kimmy Locker, oh, the second part is for sure true. That much is evident, but yeah, you could be right in experience. Kimmy Locker says, no, they came back late. For which ones? I don't remember what we were talking about there. Small says, Runkle basically said he needs some matte foundation on his forehead because the shine is distracting. I'm sure Tart has his shade. Because now that's all I look at when he's on screen. Are you talking about this man's shiny head? Stop. We cannot talk about this defense team's appearance. Okay, that's not what they're here for. Small says the Jazzy G is bad. Shaking my head. My eyes are tracking the shine like a cat in a laser. What's this guy named? Don't make fun of this man. Blue Monday says, I just caught a full look at the lady at the defense table. She has to be from a Real Housewives reality show. She has got it going on. Yeah, she's beat down. She came beat for the gods, okay? She was coming for a reality TV show, not a court case. I don't know what y'all thought, but she is here for it. Jazzy G says the Smalls laughing my A off. It's very distracting. He does have a shiny head. Y'all, we have to focus on the case. First, the prosecution is too boring. Now, Mr. Defense is baldy, Mr. Shiny, Mr. Clean. The defense is Mr. Clean. This is not what this channel is about, y'all. We cannot talk about people. It's mean. It's wrong. It's wrong. Okay. Blue Monday says, maybe the judge's son made that nameplate in his woodshop class in high school and she can't get rid of it. He's like, Mom, you're going to be live streamed. You have to put it on your desk. If no other time, you have to put it on your desk for this trial. Small says her nameplate wouldn't look so out of place if it matched the desk or was a darker wood / material. It's like bad design 101. Not the purpose of the trial, y'all. Small says the Blue Mondays laughing my A off. That was my thought, that it was a gift. I'm choosing to believe that and that she got that made herself. Y'all gonna know who I am. No one's gonna say my nameplate was too small. You're gonna see who I am. Y'all, if you have not hit the like button, please do. We are at 25 likes and 21 people watching live. So if you have not hit the like button, please do. It does help us reach our live stream goal, which is 50 likes. We're like 25 away. I don't know if we're getting there, but that's okay. It's okay. Jazzy G says, I am assuming she hired these lawyers. Yeah, these do not come off as public defenders for me. I think she's paying them. I don't know for sure. If someone knows in the chat, let me know. But I'm pretty sure she paid for these guys. He did a good job. He's not playing around with public defender behavior. Okay. Sparktabulous, love the name. Saying yes to Jazzy. Jazzy is saying, is Sarah charged too? Sarah is not charged. Think she's gonna be a witness. Daniel, what's his name? It's his name David or Daniel Hall. Hall was charged, but took a plea deal and will testify here. So no charges for Sarah. Sparktabulous says nope, only Hannah and Alec Baldwin, and Hall was charged, but he took a plea. Elin, another member of the channel, welcome back, saying David Hall was also charged. Yes, he was charged, but he took a plea, so he's not facing the charge, or he's not facing jail. At least I think he got like probation or something. So he admitted he wasn't supposed to be touching the gun, but that doesn't absolve her. And he's probably going to get up here and testify that, no, I didn't replace any of the bullets that she put into the gun. So why are you bothering me? And then all this stuff about after the fact they threw away these rounds, after the fact, because you're trying to insinuate that they set her up. How is that going to help? The round still went off. So anyways, let's go on. Sparktabulous says, this case already started out a mess to me. There is enough to me to bring reasonable doubt, but we will see. I watched Emily's live. I see where he's pointing at. I don't know if we're on reasonable doubt. I don't know. She's going to admit to touching the gun. She's going to admit to putting the rounds in there. And then she's going to want us to assume that someone moved the rounds out. I don't think so. Blue Monday says defense opening only has 5% less boring presentation. I thought he did substantially better. Not as enthusiastic as I would be, but substantially better than the other guy, right? Kimmy Locker says to Blue Mondays, his presentation is a shame too. Dang. I thought he did better. He opened up better. Let's do that, because he did get kind of boring towards the end, because he makes some great points that totally refute major claims the state made, and they get lost in the lull. And the thing is, he did make good points. I don't know if they're enough to prove the case, though. Sparktabulous says both sides are very lullaby-ish. We are not supposed to be critiquing the people, guys. Critique the case. They're very lullaby-ish. Gotta watch it on 1.5 speed. That's what I had it on. That is what I had it on. And it was still slow. Sparktabulous says, just wait until they play the police videos. We're not getting to that today. So I'll have to watch that over the weekend. Jazzy G says, who was David Hall? He was the first chairperson for the director. And he's the one that handed the gun to Alec Baldwin. So the gun went from Gutierrez to Hall to Baldwin, ultimately landing with a shot. Blue Monday says to Elin, continuing, David Hall jumped and took a plea deal. Yeah, he did. I think, like I said, I think he got like probation or something. Elin says David Hall was the assistant director who handed the gun to Baldwin. Yes, see, the chat got all the answers. Why am I even up here? Y'all got all the answers. DJ 70 says, how long is this trial? They said that they're supposed to be there till May 8th. So I believe that is about 2.5 weeks or so, because they started today. So May 8th is supposed to be the end of the trial. Elin says trial expected. See, why am I here? Y'all got all the answers. Elin says she wasn't allowed on set because of COVID protocols. They decided she wasn't important enough. For the armorer, that would help her case, in my opinion. But she still put the rounds in there. So there's that. Sparktabulous says safety practice on a movie shoot and no safety meetings. Isn't that the production company? She didn't have time to check anything. She was also prop assistant, right? Yeah. And so that's what they're going to argue, is that it's the production's fault. But I still don't think she gets over the hump of the fact that she's the one that put the rounds in the gun and that her job was to check the gun. I don't think it was production's job to check the gun. That's why they hired her. So I get it. There are other people contributing to the issue, but I don't think we can take the blame off of her. So let me know. Keep coming at me. And the thing about it, the reason why I'm saying it is because it's negligence. Negligence is easy. This is not intent here. This is not intent. This is negligent. Accident, right? She made an accident. She wished she would have checked it more, right? Negligence is not hard. She had a duty. It's not production's duty to put the bullets in the gun. It was her duty, and she put the bullets in the gun. She breached that duty. No matter how negligent production was being, she still had a job. Was it a stressful job? Yeah. Yeah, I'm not doubting that. But she still had a job. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm not coming up off her. I need more evidence. Kimmy Locker says, yeah, she had multiple roles. Sparktabulous says she was not allowed on the movie set because of COVID. I think we already got that one. Sparktabulous says you could totally pass for 24 assists. Thank you very much. I'm not 24 anymore. I'm a big girl, okay? But she says she's 24, so, why are you blaming me? Girl, because that's your job. It's your job. Jessie G says, I wonder how much authority she really had on set, though. Even though she was the armor, it seems like they didn't listen to the concerns she brought up. I agree with that. They did shut her down. And the thing is, I would agree with that if they shut her down on that one. Like, if she was looking through the gun and they snatched out her hand, I was like, we gotta go. Then I would say, okay, fine. They did not let her check the gun. But she's saying she checked it. She just did it really fast and she did it really wrong. So I get that. I get production is an issue too. I'm with y'all on that. Kimmy Lockett says, I think her age might have been relevant if he had it in the context of not being respected, listened to, good point, etc., rather than being too young for the position and responsibility that she chose to accept. Good freaking point, Kimmy. 24 as in they were walking all over her and she wasn't able to do her job. But 24 as, oh, she's only a 24-year-old. Why are we blaming her? No, absolutely not. I don't agree with that. Okay. Elin says to Jazzy G, she literally could have locked up the guns and left. She really could. Tiny D says, Spicy Brie is always fun. Thank you. We are here being spicy tonight. Sorry. To my spicy TED talk. Just Me MD says she still has a primary source of gun safety responsibility. Yep. That's where I'm at. No matter how bad production sucked. Okay. She still had that responsibility. That's like saying a 20-year-old med aide is not responsible for giving the wrong medication. Good point. Because they are young and inexperienced. Yeah. Now, if she's moving too slow, I think I said this earlier, they're yelling at her. Hannah, hurry up. Come on. We got to move it. What they going to do? Kick her off the set? She gets to take all the guns with her, and then they got to go hire a new armorer. Okay, they're rushing you, girl. Okay, do y'all want to die, or do you want me to check these bullets? You want to die, or you want me to check these bullets? I think you want me to check these bullets, okay? Oh, wow, look at this. A live round just saved your life, right? So they can say she didn't have authority and all of the things, but who said it just a second ago? She could lock the guns up and leave. Be like, fine, y'all don't want me to do my job? I'm not going to jail for you, okay? Inexperienced or not, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to tell me what to do. Jazzy G says, okay, I see. I'm not familiar with how it works to Elin. Elin says she hired them. I don't know exactly which ones you guys are talking about. Just Me MD says the number of previous safety issues was clear warnings before destruction. Exactly. It makes it seem, or not makes it seem, she probably, since there were so many other safety concerns, she should have been a little bit more diligent. The other thing, the jury might say, well, they were letting safety slide anyway, so she was like, just F it. They might find her more at fault because she did point out safety concerns days before. And then in this particular instance, you're part of the safety concern. You can blame everybody else about the misfires and discharges and everything else, but this one, you put the bullet in and you handed that one off. So there's that. Hello Swinky says 3 likes. Thank you very much. Elin says no, she's also charged with evidence tampering. That's why they're talking about the after. Okay, that makes sense. But they didn't talk about the cocaine after. He basically ignored the cocaine charge. He's just talking about throwing away the rounds. So yeah, he didn't. The evidence tampering against her is just the cocaine, not the throwing away the bullets or anything else. That has nothing to do with her. She's just being accused of evidence tampering because they're accusing her of being on cocaine. And if they could prove she was on cocaine while working with guns, that's, the court will probably find her guilty of that. Okay. Kimmy Locker says to Elin, the tampering charge is pretty bogus to me, considering what other people allegedly did with the actual bullets and evidence after the shooting. Agreed. Excuse me. And the thing is, it was so far after, they said like the next day or something after she did the interview, she gave some cocaine to someone else. How does that prove she was high on the set? They're basically going to try to insinuate, well, she was high 2 days ago, so she was probably high on the set too. No, it doesn't work like that. Cameron Small says 5 in the chat is broken, shaking my head. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. The chat's not working. Kimmy Locker says to Cameron Smalls, patience is truly one of my virtues, but YouTube's been testing me tonight. And the thing is, it is. But you guys are still really active. I appreciate it so much. Hella Swaggy says, bruh, I just went through like 5 different channels and only 2 showed up. Oh, no. I'm sorry that the chat is messing with y'all. Elin says to Kimmy Locker, I want to see the evidence. If she emptied the gun and did the drugs, that's a big deal. But the drug ditching was like days later, if I'm not mistaken. Kimmy Locker says to Elin, who? Hannah isn't accused of emptying or tampering with the gun afterwards. Her boss is. Yeah. The prop manager is accused of that part. Kimmy Locker says accused by the defense anyway, but not by the state. Yeah. Yeah, charges are not brought against her. Small says very solid analogy to Just Me MD. Yep, exactly. She did a good job. Small says, or I think I already got that one. I did already get that one. You just read that one. Sparktabulous says, but how did live rounds end up on the set to begin with? That's the real question. Defense is arguing that the real rounds got on the set because of the supplier. Prosecution is arguing that Miss Gutierrez was technically the supplier. She sourced the supply. But the defense is arguing that Mr. I don't remember his name. It was a funny name. That he was the source of the rounds. But also said that the guy that was the source of the rounds was also buddy with Gutierrez's dad, Mr. Reed, and they shot off guns with each other a few months before the Rust movie, and the supplier guy kept the rounds and never gave them back. So they're basically insinuating that he took the rounds from the testing of the guns and put it into these rounds and then brought it to the Rust shooting. But let's remember, if the prosecution is right, I'm not an armorer, so I don't know all of their job duties, but I'll assume this is part of their job duties. The point of the armorer is to make sure the guns are safe. So they are supposed to check the rounds to make sure that there are no live rounds on the set. Let's give another medical example. Let's say you go to the doctors and you need to have a flu shot. And Johnson & Johnson, because apparently they make medication. I learned that during COVID. Johnson & Johnson supplies the flu shot little syringe. Johnson & Johnson supplies flu shot syringe. The nurse then gets ready, goes through your chart, confirms who you are, blah, 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 and gets a Johnson & Johnson syringe, and she just sticks it right in you. Come to find out, the syringe is expired or it's not actually a flu shot. Now, is that Johnson & Johnson's fault, or is that the nurse's fault for not checking the label and checking the expiration date? I don't think we're going to be able to say it's Johnson & Johnson's fault. I think we're going to say it's the nurse's fault. So their theory is that Johnson & Johnson is the one that gave us the expired medication. So Johnson & Johnson is at fault. Johnson & Johnson might be at fault, but so are you, nurse, because you didn't look at the expiration date. Think about it like that, y'all. Think about it like that. Okay. Let's see. Small says, do y'all want to die? That's so real, which is why I say she took it for granted and or was naive about the how responsible she was and how imperative those responsibilities were. And I don't think the defense argument that she's been on set since she was a little girl is helpful to her. Then she should have known better. She should have not let people boss her around. Her dad is a well-respected armorer in the industry. I don't know about y'all, but when you see someone who has a very respectable daddy, you also respect them too, right? Because you don't want dad coming and be like, hey, bro, why was you talking to my daughter like that? You know, I'm a well-respected armorer. You know, I got guns. Let me stop. I'm too animated on this Thursday night. Like I don't have court in the morning and I got to go out super professional. And this is water. I don't know why I'm so hyper right now, but it's a very interesting case. But yeah, she had responsibilities. And while it's true that other people may have contributed to her downfall, she was still the one that was ultimately responsible, right? Okay. Kimmy Lockett says the state also argues that she was high at home around ammo that she brought to set. Yes, that is true. They do say that, but I don't think they said it in the actual opening, but I think they are going to bring that up. But again, being high at home with guns don't make you high at work with guns. So that to me is going to be a leap. But the jury might make that leap, right? Elin says she seemed high as a kite in the body cam footage. God dang it. Not the body cam footage. Well, I mean, I guess that's why they're even bringing up the fact that she tried to hide the cocaine. I don't know. I haven't seen the body cam footage. Kimmy Lockett says to Elin, she seemed panicked and horrified to me, and then everybody got the different opinions. I got told I was wrong on my Love is Blind video 29 million times, but right 29 million times. So everyone has different opinions. Small says to Kimmy Lockett, agree. I didn't get high. I got anxiety attack bubble under the surface. Okay, I'm going to check it out, y'all. I'm going to check it out. Elin says she did on the early part. In the later part, she seemed high and also seemed high in her first interrogation. That will not look well for her. It's not going to look good for her. Kimmy Lockett says to Elin, I'll rewatch and look forward to watching it with a Beehive when we get a chance. But it all hit me as different stages of panic and horror in the horrible panic-inducing situation. And that is something that is super traumatizing to experience. So I can get that too. Small says her attorney about to lose this case for her, shaking my head. Why would they think it would be helpful to say she's been on set since she was a kid? And then argue, oh, she's only 24, but she's been doing this since she was in diapers. Like, it's so contradicting. She's 24 and she's been on set for her whole life. She has more experience than the person that just got out of the training school. She's educated. She went to theater school. She practiced armorer. Her dad's an armorer, and she's been on set since she was a kid. She knows exactly what she's doing, is what her team is arguing. But since she was 24, she's a young girl. How is she supposed to know the live? How is she supposed to know the rounds were live? Girl, it's your job. What are you talking about? Hey, but you know what? I gave that medical example of the nurse with the expired syringe for your flu shot. Let's say it messes you up, it kills you, whatever. It was the nurse's fault for not checking the expiration date, no matter if Johnson & Johnson sent her the wrong thing. Now, if they sent her a syringe that said flu shot and it was actually, assisted suicide formula, then the nurse would not be at fault because the labeling from Johnson & Johnson is the issue. But given expired medication or a medication that clearly says that's not what it is, that's the nurse's fault. You have to pay attention to your job. You can't just assume that other people are doing it right. Me as a lawyer, my paralegals draft something up. I have to review that because when it goes out, I'm going to be the one in trouble, right? So there's different stages of things. The guy sends the ammo in. That's fine and dandy. Should he have checked it? Should he have been careful? Yeah, sure. He should have been. But she is that middle person in between that gun and the actor and whoever's standing in front of that gun. And she didn't do her job. So I felt like I was going somewhere else with that example. Oh, that's where I was going. So, I'm very much about, okay, people are learning, let them get their experience. If I see someone that's like a new waiter or training, I give them grace, I give them time. Cashier, new training, give them grace, give them time. But one time I went to get my blood drawn and the person was like, I am a student. Do you consent to me doing a blood draw? I was like, no, absolutely not. I can't do the needles. I don't like the needles, okay? And I'm not about to, and I have really small veins, or maybe I just don't drink enough water and I'm not hydrated. One of the two. And you are not about to poke me 50 times. I said, sir, I'm so sorry. Usually I would, participate in your training. But with this, I just can't. I cannot. No. And so basically that's what I feel like she's arguing. Oh, it was only my second time. I was just experimenting. You cannot experiment with guns. You can't do that. Okay. Sorry, I got on the tangent there. But yeah, for the people that draw blood, if you're a student, I will not let you draw my blood. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want you to learn. I do want you to learn, but not on me. Not on me. Oh, Small says, right? Knowing someone has just been killed and you may be responsible, child, I probably would have had several actual panic attacks or completely shut down. I agree. That is traumatizing to go through. And knowing that, oh gosh, I was so overwhelmed on the set, I made a mistake. And now this person is gone. Yeah. Very traumatizing. Spark Tabulous says, child, I would have been freaking out too. That's understandable. I agree with that. I'm excited to see the body cam footage to see what I think. Small says her attorney about to lose this case for her. Shake my head. Why would you think it would be helpful to say she's been on the set as a kid? I think I already read that one. Agreed. And then Kimmy Locker says, I think his shininess is intentional too. To do what? To distract? To distract the crowd? I don't know. Okay, y'all. Well, that was the end of the live stream. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Kimmy is in the back saying crazy stuff. I don't know if you meant to say that in the regular chat or not. But anyways, y'all, that is the end of the live stream today. I am going to catch up on the trial over the weekend so I can get up to speed on everything that's happening and then play the parts for you guys that I think is relevant or not relevant that we will have enough time to cover on the channel. And try to do a little breakdown for y'all, a little PowerPoint or something to kind of go through the witnesses. So if you're not interested in watching the whole trial, you can come over and hang out with me on the Bree Hive. And I'm going to put in a lot of work over the next few weeks in order to make sure that we have all the information for y'all and listen to the trial. Oh my gosh, why am I setting myself up for failure? You know, you have to work. Anyways, got to listen to it at night. Make sure we're on point, just like I did for the Edelson trial. We'll just have to do the same thing. That one was only a week. So we'll see how 3 weeks goes with me with these people. Well, at least I can watch it on 2 times speed instead of 1 times or 1.5 times speed. I might put it on 3, how slow that they're talking. I'm always listening to my stuff super fast. I think I got a couple more chats that just came in. So I'm going to cover those chats and then I'm going to have to go to bed because I have a hearing in the morning to be mean to people. Oh, I see Kimmy. Okay, so Kimmy says, I think his shininess is intentional too, to distract us all. Small says, LOL, don't blame you, Bree. Anytime I let students practice on me in the hospital, I pay very close attention and will even talk them through or give them tips, only because I want them to learn from patients too. Yeah, the blood draw, I couldn't. Maybe if it was something else, take my temperature, I don't know. But the blood draw, I was like, I'm not having it. I'm sorry, sir. Normally I would, but I have been abused when it comes to blood draws because my veins are so small or I'm not hydrated enough or whatever. But always, anytime I go to get blood drawn, they always have an issue finding my veins. So yeah, I'm just cringing thinking about it. Blue Monday says, if you are training, you need a supervisor at all times. So she can't have it both ways. Yep. You're either in charge or training. Right. And so she said she did assistant on one set and then 2 as the head armorer. So is there like no in between? Like you just do one time and all of a sudden you are qualified? What's the licensing that you need to be an armorer? I don't know. Small says, but it's anxiety inducing for sure, Bree. So I don't blame you at all. I don't even look at the needle, y'all. Like whenever I go to get my blood drawn, I do this. I just put my arm down and I look away. And they'd be like, do you want me to tell you when I'm going to go? I'm like, no, just do it. Just do it. Don't say anything else. Just do it when you're ready. I'm not looking. I don't watch the blood fill up. I cannot. It's making me sick just thinking about it. Just Me MD says, then apparently she took daddy privilege for granted. Exactly. You cannot play with guns and expect not to get hurt. Yeah. And you have a job, whether you're 24 or not. I can't go into court and they go, Bree, where's your brief? I don't know, Judge. I'm only 24. I'm only 24, Judge. You can't do that, right? You have a responsibility. So Tanya D goes, agreed 1,000% to Just Me MD. Yep. Blue Monday says, thanks Bree and chat for the fun night. I hope you guys had a good time. I was super hyped today. I don't know why. I was like a little stressed. I was really stressed before I got on the stream, and this just made my night. So thank y'all for all coming to hang out with me. Spark Tabula says, thanks for covering Boss Attorney Bree. Thank you for coming in. Tiny D says, well, have a great weekend, everyone. I hope everyone else has a good weekend too. Just Me MD says, great coverage. Night, y'all. Have a good night. Elin says, no licensing required. Well, that sucks. She did not have a firearm safety certification. What? So, I mean, some of it is rust. Why did they hire her? Jazzy G says, thanks, Bree. Good night, everyone. Yes, of course. Okay, y'all. I went ahead and went through the goodnight text, which normally I don't do. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Thank you for everyone that hit the like button. We didn't quite hit our goal, but we hit our normal 30 like goal. Maybe I was too ambitious for reaching for the stars to get the 50 likes, but that's okay. I appreciate everyone coming in tonight, chatting, all the interaction in the chat, and having a good time in the live stream. I will see y'all all next week, probably on Tuesday. I should be fine for Tuesday live streaming. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on the next